A schizophrenic patient who crosses into the martial arts world. How terrifying would it be? The scene begins with the image of the grandfather lying motionless on the ground. John stands still, unable to speak. Painful thoughts echo in his head. He's dead. His body was torn in half. He died like this, and I can't even cry. I don't even feel sad. He was my only family. Yet when facing this loss, all I feel is emptiness and coldness. John's gaze shifts forward, towards the house where the two of them lived, now burning fiercely, the flames devouring everything. His hand tightens into a fist. Why am I so useless? Memories flood back like a sharp knife slicing deep into his mind. At that time, John happily ran over, his eyes shining with pride. Grandfather, look, the medicinal herb is ready. You're making the medicine. Hearing this, the old man looked up with a gentle gaze. You're back, John? John nodded enthusiastically. I searched to the east. Just like you told me. I finally found it. He showed the healthy herb in his hand. The old man nodded slightly. Ah, this one's big. We can sell it for at least a good amount of silver. John continued. There's a fox den nearby. But the mother wasn't there. Just the pups. His words unwittingly made the old man slightly worried. He looked at John, then asked, Did you kill them? John's eyes widened in surprise. Why would I do that? If their mother comes back and finds all the pups dead, she'll surely be heartbroken. The old man fell silent for a moment before smiling softly. His gaze softened. You did well. Now, pack up, and we'll have dinner. Yes, grandfather. John happily picked up the basket and walked away. But as he turned, the old man's voice grew serious. With a final request. John, can you promise me something? John stopped and turned back. What is it? The old man sighed lightly, smiling warmly, but his gaze held something distant. The true nature of what you're hiding. Never let anyone discover it. But now, amidst the ruins of the present, John smiles, a twisted, deranged grin, his eyes bloodshot like a wild animal. I'm sorry, grandfather. His voice grew quieter. Then suddenly, his sharp gaze shifted forward. His hand gripped the sickle lying nearby. His fingers white as he mumbled. His voice hoarse. I couldn't keep my promise. In Zhongyang County, a wooden cart clattered along the dusty road. Inside, a group of bandits and criminals were tightly bound. Heads bowed in silence. Outside, the villagers gathered, shouting angrily. Look at them. Those petty thieves. Despicable bandits. Let them die. These beasts. Suddenly, someone found it odd, and asked, Who is that person? Why does he get a separate carriage? This caught the attention of the martial artist, who was sipping his drink, who quickly focused on the slender figure, shackled by the hands, sitting in a daze inside. Seeing this, the martial artist took a sip and said, He's so small, probably around the same age as the young master. Upon hearing this, one person immediately explained, Don't underestimate him just because he looks young. He is the worst among them. That's probably why he got a whole carriage to himself. The person sat down, ordered another drink, and began to recount the events. You, being from the martial world, might not be afraid, but you'll be surprised if I tell you how many people he's killed with that sickle of his. They call him the demon with the sickle. The martial artist replied, Well, it's just killing people. The other person hurriedly said, Don't speak so casually. Then asked, So, what do you want this time? The martial artist picked up his glass and said, I need someone hired. Someone young enough that no one would care if he dies. After saying that, the martial artist looked down at the shackled person. At that moment, a stone was thrown by the villagers, hitting the prisoner's head. They yelled loudly, You deserve even worse punishment than this. The soldiers started intervening, stopping the situation from getting worse. The martial artist paid close attention to the young prisoner's face. Amidst the continuous insults, upon a closer look, the martial artist was surprised. He discovered the prisoner's stunning beauty. The martial artist thought to himself, He's so beautiful that people mistake him for a woman. To kill people with a face like that. Realizing he had found the perfect candidate, the martial artist put on his coat and hat, coldly said goodbye to the other person. Ignoring the frantic cries from the deception, the martial artist silently left, like a swordsman completing a mission, blending into the bustling crowd. In his mind, there was only one thought left. Find that young prisoner. He was the perfect choice for his plan. At night, in the inner city of Zhongyang County, the Golden Jade Palace, guards stood watch around the prison. Inside the dark prison, John sat with his back against the wall, his head down, his eyes gazed into the distance, his mind lost in dark thoughts. The memory of that bastard flooded back. When John had confronted the one who had killed his grandfather, the murderer laughed mockingly. What an impression! I was wondering who was tailing me. But it turns out to be just a nameless brat. The murderer grabbed John by the throat, lifting him up. His eyes glared with murderous intent. John could only struggle in vain, unable to fight back. Desperate thoughts echoed in his mind. Finally, he had found the one who killed his grandfather. But this man was unlike any others. He had defeated me before I could even move a finger. Even if I had the chance to meet him again, I would never be able to defeat him. I can't think of a way to kill him. John struggled, trying to get his hands off his neck. Then he remembered something the murderer had said. John realized something important. He pondered his martial arts skills. If I learn martial arts, could I defeat him? I'll never have a second chance. Suddenly, a smoke-like mist appeared around John's feet. He was surprised and wondered, is this smoke burning? John realized this wasn't ordinary smoke, but a mixture of several herbs. He muttered as he recognized each scent: lizard tail, purple radish, female ghost root, ling grass, and the fragrance of sleep. As soon as John recognized the nature of the smoke, the guards around him began to fall unconscious. John also inhaled the toxic scent, his eyelids growing heavier as he fell into a stupor. John heard the sound of the prison door opening. A figure entered. John recognized it as the martial artist who had appeared earlier. The man stood still, observing his surroundings, then began using his martial arts to break the chains holding John. As the man began to clear the scene, there was a sound that caused him to look up in surprise. John was just pretending to sleep, luring the mastermind to reveal himself. The martial artist was shocked. "You're still awake?" Before he could finish his sentence, John kicked him in the stomach, quickly escaping, leaving the martial artist in pain behind. As he ran, John calculated, unsure of what was happening. But this was his chance. Because he had carelessly prepared the fragrance earlier, he wasn't knocked out. As he ran with determination, he suddenly found himself unable to move. Behind him, someone had struck the pressure points on his body. The martial artist behind him explained, "I've sealed your pressure points. You can't move anymore." John turned in surprise and thought, when did he catch up to me? This is martial arts. The martial artist quickly struck John's body, sending him crashing into the wall. John looked up, furious. A martial master? He was the one who killed my grandfather. It wasn't the two of them. They looked alike. But this man had a scar near his left eye. Could it be him? The martial artist and John were both surprised when another figure appeared. The martial artist asked, "Young master, I told you to wait outside." The new figure turned away, exuding an air of mystery, then replied calmly, "I've never stepped into the prison. I wanted to check it out, but it's not as interesting as I thought. This place stinks. Is it him? Help him up so I can see his face. And bring me a chair." The martial artist replied, "Yes, young master." John could only lie still, witnessing it all. The martial artist grabbed John's head, pulling him up. The other person laughed. "Haha, you're right. He looks just like me." Gradually, he lifted the cloth that concealed the inside. John looked on in utter disbelief. Mok Jingwen looked at him and found it laughable. For someone who looks just like me, appearing in a situation like this, it truly feels like destiny. Doesn't it? Ha ha. It seems like you're just as surprised as I am. John stood frozen in disbelief at the incredible sight before him. Mok Jingwen sat down and continued. "I heard you're in the prison, waiting to die. In 2 days, you'll be torn apart by 4 horses. John replied, "Yes." Mok Jingwen went on, "Life is so unfair. We were born with identical faces. But I'm the young master. And you're a condemned prisoner. I will give you a rare opportunity." Hearing this, John was stunned. In his mind, the word opportunity echoed. Mok Jingwen continued to explain, "It's not difficult at all. You'll be locked up in a mansion with fine food, beautiful servants, and a comfortable bed. You'll be able to enjoy everything you've never had the chance to enjoy. And when everything's over, you'll receive a large sum of money. Once you're free, you can go wherever you want." At this moment, the bodyguard, Cam, pulled something out from inside and handed it to John. "If you agree, then eat this." Seeing their sudden kindness, John became suspicious and wondered if it was poison. Mok Jingwen answered, "Do you think we'll just blindly trust a condemned prisoner like you?" If you complete the task I give you, I will give you the antidote. So, what will you do? John stared straight ahead, thinking only of his grandfather. I've been given a second chance. He opened his mouth, which pleased Mok Jingwen. A chance for revenge. John swallowed the pill eagerly and said with delight, "Now, young master, are you truly giving me that chance?" The scene before him made the third young master look at John with different eyes. "A wise decision," he said. "Cam, you can unseal his pressure points and remove the handcuffs." The bodyguard replied, "Yes, young master." The bodyguard began unsealing John's pressure points and removing the handcuffs, allowing John to breathe a sigh of relief. The bodyguard led the way and said, "I'll guide you." Mok Jingwen responded, "All right." To ensure safety, he instructed John to go first. Looking around, no one was in sight. The bodyguard turned and said, "It's safe now, please be careful." But they didn't expect that. At that moment, John acted with lightning speed. He twisted Mok Jingwen's head backward, leaving the third young master no time to react. John's face showed pure enjoyment as he killed. The sudden death of Mok Jingwen caused the bodyguard to scream in terror. What? John dropped Mok Jingwen's lifeless body to the ground, looking down at the corpse with satisfaction. While Cam, the bodyguard, was still in shock, John spoke, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh dear, now what, Cam? The imposter is dead." Back to the time before the demon with the scythe was captured. A scream suddenly echoed in the silent air. Everyone panicked and scattered in all directions. The demon with the scythe swung wildly, gripping tightly onto the hair of the decapitated head. John frantically swung the scythe, his demonic smile deeply etched on his face. The bloodied head flew off, scattering everywhere. John thought to himself, "I've killed everyone I thought might be involved in my grandfather's death." The intense emotions I felt while killing these dozens of people were pleasure. He remembered his grandfather's words, "Never reveal to anyone the true nature you are hiding inside." John held the bloodied scythe in his hand, his face unmoving. He threw the head aside, rolling on the ground. He wondered what expression was on his face as he killed all these people. He raised his hand, looking at the blood dripping from it, trembling. "Am I laughing?" He clenched his mouth tightly and laughed in madness. "Is this the true nature my grandfather spoke of? No, my true nature is evil. Isn't it? I don't know, but now I'll kill to my heart's content." John laughed without hesitation, raising the scythe high and slashing mercilessly. But before this scene could last, sometime later, he was kicked in the stomach. Unable to resist, the blow was so strong that he was sent flying a great distance, crashing onto a pile of rubble. John trembled, struggling to stand after the powerful kick. He coughed, which surprised his attacker. "Oh, you're still alive? Impressive." The man slowly drew his sword, facing John. At this moment, the pain began to subside. John stood up, thinking, "This bastard is too dangerous." His eyes spoke of the ruthless desire within. The man approached, then said, in astonishment, "It seems you haven't even learned martial arts. But you survived my ultimate attack." At this moment, he seemed to shift, moving so fast that John quickly retreated. But before long, the man grabbed his throat, rendering him immobile. Gradually, John was lifted off the ground, and he felt terrified. "He's too fast." He was standing so far away, yet he closed the distance in just a second. "Is he even human?" After everything John had caused, the man complimented him, but it turned out he was just a nameless brat who didn't even know martial arts. John, frustrated at being mocked, thought, "You." But before he could finish his thoughts, the man struck him directly, interrupting his train of thought. John winced in pain, his face turning red as he screamed in surprise. He quickly drew his sword, but the wound only worsened. "A little brat who doesn't know martial arts. And yet you survived my ultimate attack? It's best I kill you now." With that, the man thrust his sword from John's stomach up toward his shoulder. The pain was so intense that his hands trembled, unable to grip his opponent any longer. "You shouldn't be killing people. You've shortened your life by doing this. You should live a quiet life." In that extreme pain, he tossed and turned, thinking, "I've been defeated so easily, and I've just found the one who killed my grandfather." Slowly, life was slipping away from him. About to leave this world, he helplessly wondered, "Am I going to die like this?" At this moment, he decided to eliminate the third young master to save himself. When Mok Jingwen fell, he stepped forward and asked, So, now what, Cam? The imposter is dead. Cam the bodyguard couldn't accept this. Quickly grabbing his neck, his voice filled with anger. You bastard! You dare to kill the young master? Do you want to die? John wasn't worried. He calmly gripped Cam's hand. Cam laughed, excited, explaining, on the contrary, it's the right thing to do. The imposter was supposed to take the place of the real person. To rush into danger and blindly obey orders. That's what got me killed. John forced a smile, but inside, there was a vast ocean of emotions. He struggled to escape, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't do anything. He thought, how is he so strong? Cam pinned John against the wall. The martial artist, worried, asked, didn't you think I could kill you? In the face of Cam's fearful attitude, John calmly replied, if you were going to kill me, you would have done it already. I believe you have no loyalty to that young master. Hearing such an unfounded accusation, the martial artist threw John to the ground, shouting, ridiculous. He pressed John's face against the ground, then drew his sword from behind. Consider this a warning, I will kill you. With his reckless attitude, John was not afraid. In fact, he wondered, is this necessary? How is this not like falling into a trap? He replied calmly, I've already ingested the poison you gave me, and I can't live without the antidote. So I have no choice but to obey you. Isn't this a good opportunity for you? The third young master of the Grand Natural Wood Sword sect will now be your loyal dog. After hearing this convincing speech, Cam wanted to confirm, so he asked, are you saying I should betray the young master and use you as a puppet? A smile full of hidden meaning appeared on John's face, which made the martial artist understand what he would choose. He sighed and then thrust his sword down. The quiet night seemed to answer for Cam, as John drove the sword into the ground near him, which made him feel pleased. The martial artist sheathed his sword and said, from now on, you will be Mok Jingwen. His plan had succeeded perfectly, bringing him extreme joy. That sinister smile slowly appeared on the lips of the young man. At the Grand Natural Wood Sword sect, Cam the bodyguard warned, but, you will not meet anyone from the Wood Sword sect. John put on his cloak and asked, then, isn't it just the same as being a substitute? Since you chose to become a puppet instead of a substitute, you no longer have the right to ask questions. If you're caught, I won't be able to give you the antidote. The martial artist immediately pointed at John, warning him. John's face turned serious as he warned, if you betray me or try to do anything secretly, I will kill you immediately. John nodded, acknowledging the warning. The martial artist thought he had John completely under control, hastily throwing something to him. This is the antidote, he said. If you don't drink it within 24 hours, the poison will spread throughout your body. Remember that. The time is already in the afternoon. John ate the antidote while deep in thought. In his mind, he reflected, I'm lucky. I not only survived those slashes, but I've also been given a new life. Perhaps this is everything my grandfather did to prevent me from dying. Children won't die until they've avenged their grandfather. So don't worry, Grandpa. That person must think I'm dead by now. Mok Jingwen's body must have been found by now. He thought about the martial arts family, and decided to pretend to be the third young master and learn martial arts. Then, he would find the person who killed his grandfather. He remembered the horrific scene of his grandfather's death. He looked into the distance, determined, and said with conviction, and I'll kill him in the same way he killed Grandpa. The sky was clear, and John sat in the high tower, deep in thought. HMPH. I miraculously escaped death. John had changed into Mok Jingwen's clothes, sitting at a table with 3 dishes laid out. He picked up his chopsticks, eating noodles while his mind raced. And now, I have the chance to learn martial arts. Mok Jingwen spoke, but then glanced at the person standing guard outside. John lifted a cup of tea and took a sip, thinking, the bodyguard, Cam, is always watching me. John felt uncomfortable. It was really annoying. The guard outside was Cao Tone, one of Cam's soldiers. Cao Tone was standing guard, looking extremely displeased. He tapped his foot, thinking, Cam is really overdoing it. What can a kid who doesn't know martial arts do? Cao Tone recalled their conversation earlier. Surprised, he said loudly, wait, he killed Mok Jingwen? So, what do we do now? Cam the bodyguard stood before Cao Tone and said, shut up, do you want the whole village to know? Cao Tone quickly covered his mouth. Cam the bodyguard continued, as long as no one knows. It's fine. This is your mission. Cam the bodyguard looked at Cao Tone. Giving orders. Keep an eye on him. Don't let him leave here. Wait a bit longer, and I'll come up with another plan. Cam gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with menace as he added, throw him out, and hand him over to someone else. Sao Tone looked at Cam's retreating back and asked, Master Cam, didn't you say you gave him the poison? Why worry about him not following orders? Cam interrupted, he's not the kind of person who'll listen to others. Even though he had been sentenced to death, he still killed Mok Jingwen to take his position. That definitely means he's the kind of person who will stop at nothing to survive. Cam the bodyguard walked to the door, evaluating. This is a very dangerous person. What good will it do us to get involved with him? Sao Tone watched Cam the bodyguard walk into the night, standing still, unsure of what to say next. Sao Tone felt uneasy, angrily banging his head against the door, thinking to himself, what's so scary about this brat anyway? He's poisoned and doesn't even know martial arts. Damn it, I can't go against the superior's orders. John heard the noise outside, picked up a piece of noodle and thought. Cam the bodyguard didn't even explain why. They need a representative, just leaving a soldier in the field. Then he left. It's been a short time, so I understand a bit about this place. This place isn't dangerous enough for them to need a dead body. Stirring the noodles with his chopsticks. Not to mention it's really safe. So they need someone to represent in other matters. John tapped his fingers on the table and continued thinking. Or maybe he deliberately didn't tell me. John chuckled quietly, the chopsticks in his hand snapping in half. His eyes became sharp. It's not that he intends to replace me, is it? Outside the door, only Sao Tone stood guard alone. At this point, Sao Tone was deeply asleep. Drooling from his mouth, John opened the door, causing Sao Tone to wake up startled. Sao Tone asked, huh? You need a bath or something? John stepped out and replied, no, I just want to breathe some fresh air. I also have something I want to ask you. May I come in? Sao Tone, looking irritated, pointed at the door and said, shut up and go back inside. Don't blame me otherwise. John's shirt was grabbed by Sao Tone, but his face remained calm. Your name is Sao Tone, right? If we both keep a secret, nothing will happen. Sao Tone grabbed John's shirt, slamming him against the door. Sao Tone snarled, bringing his face close. Have you forgotten your place? If you do this, I get nothing from it. So, go back inside. John lowered his eyes, staring at Sao Tone. You're weaker than Cam the bodyguard. Huh? Sao Tone was confused. What? John grabbed Sao Tone's shoulder, quickly throwing him to the ground, keeping his hand firmly on his shoulder, pressing him down. In a vulnerable position, Sao Tone shouted, and instantly, John sealed his pressure points. But Sao Tone thought to himself, I can't move. How could he have sealed my pressure points? That bastard. He hid the fact that he knows martial arts. John looked at Sao Tone, motionless, lying on the ground, slightly confused. John continued to poke Sao Tone's back, saying, can you move? Did I make a mistake? I'm trying to learn, but it seems not easy. Huh? Sao Tone was continuously hit with pressure points, screaming non-stop. What? He was so uncomfortable that tears almost started flowing. Thinking in astonishment, how did he imitate Cam's technique after just one look? This guy is truly dangerous. Sao Tone's eyes reflected John's evil, sinister smile. Sao Tone, trembling, turned to ask John, did you forget you're poisoned? Don't forget, if you don't neutralize the poison regularly, you'll die. You'll die in extreme pain, with blood coming out of 7 openings. 2 from the ears, 2 from the eyes, 2 from the nostrils, and from your mouth. Before Sao Tone could finish, John swiftly clamped his hand over his mouth. Sao Tone panicked, trying to speak. What the hell are you doing? John raised his hand to his mouth, and blood dripped from his fingers. My blood is poisoned, John said, and he let a drop of blood fall onto Sao Tone's mouth. Sao Tone couldn't believe it. He raised his hands to his throat, shivering in discomfort on the ground, thinking, poison, poison. Sao Tone shook, falling to the floor, unable to stop coughing and vomiting. Sao Tone thought to himself, I need to use my internal energy right away. I need to circulate my energy to expel the poison. John spoke, I've tested hundreds of poisons since I was young, to test herbs for my grandfather. So my blood has gradually turned poisonous. John stepped forward, kicking Sao Tone, who was kneeling on the floor. John licked his bloody palm. Just by smelling or tasting the herbs, I can identify them, so most poisons don't have any effect on me. John's eyes were full of menace as he smiled. That's why I don't need an antidote. Aha, I want to ask you a question. If that's alright. Because only I can cure the poison in my blood. You'll definitely need my help. Sao Tone, drenched in sweat, his body trembling, eyes full of fear, felt like crying, thinking in his heart, he really is a demon. At the Wood Sword sect's main hall, in the room of the sect leader, Mok the sect leader, and the Mok Ren team were lying on the bed, his face pale and discomforted. The doctor attending to him sighed in concern, saying, "There's really nothing more I can do." The doctor wiped the sweat from Mok the sect leader's face. "I've used all my knowledge, experience, and herbs, but still can't find a cure for him." Mok the sect leader, "Maybe it's time for you to pass the position on. The Wood Sword sect has 4 young masters, but the sect leader hasn't named a successor before falling ill. So, it can be said that now is just a calm before the storm. If the sect leader dies, the young masters will shed blood for the position. The first wife is deeply devoted to her eldest son. Who knows what she will do to secure the position for her son?" Madame Shi entered Mok the sect leader's room. Madame Shi, the first wife of the sect leader, raised her fan to cover her mouth and asked gracefully, "Sect leader, how is he?" The doctor bowed his head and hesitated, answering, "Madam, I'm afraid there's no way to cure him." Madame Shi's patience was wearing thin. "How is he?" she demanded. The doctor replied, "Please forgive me, my knowledge is limited, so I couldn't find a way to treat him. This is a strange illness, and conventional medicine cannot cure it." Madame Shi raised her hand to her forehead, expressing sorrow and sighed. "Indeed, everyone calls it a strange illness, and regular medicine can't treat it. So, the only way is to use mystical arts?" The doctor, slightly surprised, replied, "Madam, using mystical arts is a mistake. How can we resort to that?" Madame Shi calmly glanced at the doctor. "Should I just stand by and watch my husband die?" "No, Madame Shi interrupted, "I don't want to hear it anymore. I'll call a spiritual healer to treat him. You may leave." The doctor was pushed out by the servants, unable to say anything further. Madame Shi looked at Mok the sect leader and said, "We will call a spiritual healer to treat him. Therefore, no one else is allowed in here, even if it's a ghost." Sao Tone raised his hand and coughed, then began telling John the current situation of the Wood Sword sect. John raised his hand to his chin. I understand now. Alright, let's go." Sao Tone, sitting on the floor, looked confused. "Where to? Where do you think?" John looked out the window toward the distant house, leaning on his hip as he said, "To see the sect leader." Alright, they both went outside together. John walked ahead, asking, "So, what you're saying is, at first, Mok Jingwen and Cam the bodyguard wanted me to be the substitute. Because the eldest young master, Mok Yinghao, started taking action and wants to kill the remaining young masters." Yes. John looked at the picture in his hand and thought, this is not a bad plan. The person in the picture in John's hand was the eldest young master, Mok Yinghao. At 20 years old, he had a birthmark on his left cheek, which he was obsessed with, to the point that he only left his room twice. Out of the 4 young masters, he was the most incompetent, greedy, and cruel one. The second picture was of the second young master, Mok Unping. At 18 years old, he had sharp eyes just like his mother. Smart and crafty, he knew exactly what he needed to do to succeed the sect leader. Mok Jingwen's original plan was to summon these 2 along with himself, to take them somewhere, and order them to provoke Mok Unping into killing him. Afterward, the eldest young master will stab the second young master in the back and kill him. These 2 will kill each other. This tactic is called the fisherman gains. If the plan succeeds, no matter who survives, the 2 brothers will have no right to succeed the position. Then, Mok Jingwen will truly appear and take control of everything. That guy also knows how to use his brain, doesn't he? John thought, piecing together Mok Jingwen's plan and evaluating it. John then thought to himself, but one variable has appeared. I've killed Mok Jingwen. Sao Tone walked behind John and asked, why did you come to see the sect leader? John, flipping through the pictures, said, after hearing you tell me, I realized that the life and death of the sect leader are connected to my own life. So I came. But if Cam the bodyguard sees you leave like this. John tossed the scraps of paper aside and said, will you keep the secret? Thank you. Sao Tone frowned, muttering to himself, damn it. The sky was clear. With the bright sunlight shining on the mock sect leader's estate, Madame Shi stood, watching the spiritual healer enter. The healer, named Mo Shen, holding a staff, asked, "Can I now enter to examine the sect leader's condition?" Madame Shi replied, "I've heard that Mo Shen is very skilled, so I will trust you this time." Mo Shen, with his luggage and staff, replied, "Thank you. The longer this strange illness persists, the worse it gets. So please have the people in this household leave. To avoid any risks." Madame Shi interrupted, "I've already had everyone leave. Only the guards remain, keeping watch over the entrances." Mo Shen spoke again, "You too must leave, madam." Madame Shi walked away. "Did you forget everything I told you?" Mo Shen firmly responded, "Of course not." Madame Shi continued walking and said, "The sect leader's secret manual and seal. If you find them, we will reward you with 300 silver coins." Mo Shen replied, "Thank you." Madame Shi ordered, "Now, everyone, leave here. No one is to stay until further notice." As Madame Shi walked away, she quietly smiled to herself. I don't truly believe in dark things like magic. But in front of Madame Shi, beneath her, the image of a young man focused on practicing martial arts appeared. Madame Shi glanced at Mok Yushin, who was practicing martial arts. He was sweating profusely, and in her heart, she thought, the son of a lowly courtesan. I can understand how he would have fun with a beautiful woman. But to pass the position to a bloodline so inferior, that's unforgivable. Madame Shi felt extreme discomfort, turning away to leave. At that moment, John and Cao Tone arrived on the other side. John sensed something and asked, "Is anyone here?" Cao Tone replied, "That's the fourth young master. It seems he's practicing martial arts. That's Mok Yushin." John looked at Mok Yushin and thought, Mok Yushin is knowledgeable about martial arts and always strives to improve. He has a personality similar to the sect leader, so he receives the most attention. John pondered and asked, "Is that how martial arts are trained?" Cao Tone eagerly crouched down, clapping his hands on his knees to explain. He's using the horse stance to strengthen the lower body, because most martial arts stances come from the lower body. John replied, "I understand now." Cao Tone, "If I learn martial arts, will I be able to kill Cam the bodyguard?" Cao Tone was stunned. John lowered his eyes and asked, "Didn't you hear my question? I'm asking if, after learning martial arts, I will be able to kill Cam the bodyguard." Cao Tone was speechless, unable to answer. He thought to himself, why did he suddenly ask that? Could it be that this bastard has realized he's about to be discarded? I know he's smart. He really is extraordinary. Cao Tone swallowed nervously and replied, "Young master, the foundation of martial arts is based on cultivation." Cultivation. Yes, learning internal energy through breath control. In other words, you channel the external energy through techniques like the breathing method. This means gathering internal energy. Once the internal energy is accumulated, you'll become stronger. However, internal energy is not something that can form overnight. Even if you learn martial arts, it would still be difficult to defeat a master like Cam the bodyguard, since he has cultivated internal energy for over 30 years. More than you. Of course, his techniques are also exceptional. John asked, "So, it's difficult to defeat him in a short time?" "Yes." Cao Tone touched his nose, silently chuckling to himself. "No matter how long you train, you'll never be able to defeat him. There's a very important phase in cultivation. If you don't train internal energy between the ages of 5 and 9, you will lack the proper qi. And no matter what you do, it will be hard to accumulate internal energy." John thought to himself, "So, I'll never be able to accumulate internal energy?" Cao Tone felt pleased inside, but dared not laugh out loud, only suppressing it. "I see. Just keep trying. Even if you try, it will only be superficial." Suddenly, John turned and confronted Cao Tone. He grabbed Cao Tone's lower eyelid and said, "Your eyes look so devious. I really want to dig them out." Cao Tone couldn't do anything, he could only bite his lip. Terrified, "Cam the bodyguard, become mine." John smiled as he spoke. Cao Tone lowered his head and responded, "Yes." Cao Tone touched his eyes, trembling with fear. John stroked his chin, thinking, "So, killing Cam the bodyguard is impossible. Cam doesn't trust me, so it will be difficult to pull him to my side." Cao Tone spoke up, "Perhaps it's best we leave now." John asked, "Why doesn't the fourth young master like mock the second young master?" "What happened?" Cao Tone recounted. 2 years ago, The true young master Mok called the fourth young master's mother a prostitute. Since then, he has harbored a deep grudge. John laughed loudly. The fourth young master is truly virtuous. How did that bastard manage to keep the four limbs intact? Right? Cao Tong said. Anyway, we should leave now. Staying here too long will cause trouble. On the other side, Yushin grimaced, sweat pouring from his face as he practiced martial arts. At sunset, in Mok the sect leader's estate. Inside the sect leader's room, red ropes were arranged throughout the room. On these red ropes were silver coins. Mok the sect leader lay on the bed, his arms and legs tightly bound by the red ropes. The spiritual healer, Mo Shen, stood at the bedside, holding the red threads. Purple veins were visible on the chest of the sect leader, with a patch near his heart also turning purple. Mo Shen assessed. These signs are caused by murderous qi. The qi is slowly consuming his body. Yet he's still intact. He truly is a martial artist. But this has been going on for too long. So his chances of survival are only around 50%. I just need to do my part. I don't need to worry about whether he survives or not. Mo Shen laid out his tools. Taking a brush dipped in red ink, he wrote on a golden talisman placed on the ground. Emperor Heaven's transformation. Brilliant cleansing. 5 harms of the evil spirits. Death cannot escape the night. Mo Shen chanted, and the talisman flew directly to the sect leader. It landed on his chest. Glowing with light, Mo Shen clasped his hands and continued chanting. Heart disease. Minor saint's mysterious elixir. Spiritual protection. Transformation to the miraculous. Golden armor to repel the evil spirits. The sect leader groaned a few times. Mo Shen felt something was wrong. Cursing internally. The murderous qi is too strong. Mo Shen continued chanting. Invoke the celestial spirits to break through the evil forces. Banish the spirits of the dead. Transform the souls. Prepare for battle in the purification of water. The sect leader's eyes opened wide. Bloodshot. The door to the room suddenly opened. Mo Shen was alarmed. Who's coming in, madam? No, it's not allowed. If you interrupt now, the power from the sect leader's body will be too much to handle. Mo Shen was thrown back by the force of the power radiating from the sect leader. Looking up, he saw 2 figures enter, John and Cao Tong. Cao Tong was stunned. What is this? Mo Shen, confused, asked. Who is this? Cao Tong, uninterested, asked. Is this the sect leader? John replied. Ah, that's the sect leader? John clasped his hands and bowed. Please allow me to pay my respects. Father. The sect leader, lying on the bed, could only groan in discomfort. John looked at the person lying on the bed and said, I came to see father. Mo Shen said loudly, you should leave, whether you're his child or anyone else. Just leave. Didn't you hear madam's order? Cao Tong blocked Mo Shen from approaching, saying, who are you to speak like this? John looked at the person lying on the bed, with the talisman on his chest, raising his hand to his chin. Deep in thought, Mo Shen explained, I am suppressing the strange dark qi within his body. This dark qi is growing stronger in the sect leader's body. Cao Tong, astonished, asked, Dark qi? Are you a spiritual healer? Mo Shen shouted, get out, quickly. Mo Shen tried to push John and Cao Tong out of the room. Leave now, if something goes wrong. Before Mo Shen could finish, a noise, like something being expelled, came from the sect leader. Mo Shen and Cao Tong froze, looking toward the sect leader. John remained calm. The sect leader was foaming at the mouth, and the terrifying sound of his groans filled the room. John thought to himself, finally, the sect leader? He looked at the sect leader, whose face was purple and veins were bulging, his mouth agape, and his eyes glazed over, bloodshot and terrifying. In an instant, the sect leader suddenly jerked, leaping up, his body full of dark qi. John guessed, has an evil spirit possessed him? Mo Shen, horrified, raised his hand. Help me, quickly, hold the sect leader down. Don't let the thread break. Cao Tong, confused, asked, hold him down? Mo Shen urged, hurry up. The sect leader flew up, and the talisman on his chest snapped and flew off. John and Cao Tong each grabbed one of the sect leader's arms. Mo Shen quickly placed a new talisman on the sect leader's forehead. This talisman will block the evil spirit, treat the strange illness, and help expel the demon inside the sect leader. The sect leader continued to scream in agony. Suddenly, the sect leader reached out and grabbed Cao Tong's arm. as if trying to break his arm. Cao Tong screamed in fear. The sect leader still holding tightly onto his arm. Mo Shen assessed. This demon is too strong. John saw something. And Mo Shen reminded Cao Tong. Hang in there. If the demon moves, you'll be in danger too. Cao Tong watched as veins from the dark qi moved along the sect leader's arm. In fear. What? The demon is moving? Why didn't you mention this earlier? The dark qi was traveling from the sect leader's arm to Cao Tong's arm. Cao Tong screamed. It's coming. John, standing beside him, swiftly drew his sword. And with a decisive slash, the sword cut cleanly through the sect leader's arm. The arm fell away from the body, blood splattering everywhere. Cao Tong couldn't believe it as he looked at John's calm face. Mo Shen, ready to chant, was equally horrified, looking at the severed arm of Mok the sect leader. Mo Shen was stunned. What are you doing? John flashed a sinister smile. Cao Tong, panicked, exclaimed, Don't stop. Are you? John ignored him, holding his sword firmly, and decisively chopped off the remaining part of Mok the sect leader's arm. Blood sprayed out like a tidal wave. Cao Tong dodged, his heart racing in fear. This madman, he's already chopped off the sect leader's arm. On the floor lay the severed arm, blood vessels still visible, as if it was smoking. Mo Shen quickly took a talisman and pressed it onto the severed arm. Cao Tong, worried, wrapped the arm in cloth, trying to stop the bleeding. We need to stop the bleeding quickly. Mo Shen, looking at the severed arm on the ground, thought to himself, this is a huge problem. The mission has failed, and even the sect leader's arm has been chopped off. I have to run before things escalate further. I just need to handle a little bit more. Then leave. Suddenly, the bloodied sword was pressed against Mo Shen's neck. Mo Shen looked at the person behind him, pointing the sword at him, and asked, Young master, what are you doing? Cao Tong didn't understand. John raised his hand, signaling for Cao Tong to be quiet. John kept the sword at Mo Shen's neck, coldly saying, Is the sect leader's condition worsening because of this? Mo Shen answered, Don't you see? The sect leader has been possessed by an evil spirit. This is no simple matter. In fact, the sect leader could lose his life. We don't have time. Do you really want the sect leader to die? John noticed the implication in Mo Shen's words and asked, You want him to die, don't you? Mo Shen realized his slip of the tongue, sweating profusely. John smiled. Are you saying someone wants the sect leader to die? Could it be that Madam has sent someone here? Mo Shen, raising his hands in surrender, denied. You misunderstood. John, losing patience. My hands are getting tired. If you're honest, you'll still have your life. Mo Shen, sweating, quickly responded. Madam said I don't need to save the sect leader. She told me to use the demon to find the sect leader's secret manual and seal. Cao Tong was shocked. John asked, The sect leader's manual and seal? Cao Tong, stunned, thought, Damn it, Madam dared to do this? This is clearly to make the eldest young master the sect leader. Cao Tong quickly looked at John and said, Young master, please, you must save the sect leader. Cao Tong thought to himself, I must stop the eldest young master from becoming the sect leader. Cao Tong continued, If not, Madam will target this young master. John raised his hand to his chin and said, True, because I've been a hindrance to her plans. Mo Shen said, Young master, I will save the sect leader by any means necessary. I will save him. John replied, No need, you just do your job. Mo Shen was confused and asked, Huh? John withdrew his sword, slinging it over his shoulder with a smirk. Tell me where the manual and seal are. That's your job to handle. Got it? Both Cao Tong and Mo Shen listened, unable to believe what they were hearing. Mo Shen replied, If the sect leader is possessed by the demon again, it could seriously affect his life. John, uninterested, ordered, Do it now. Cao Tong thought to himself, What is that madman trying to do? Why is he not focused on saving the sect leader? Mo Shen replied, I understand. The room was brightly lit, and Cao Tong and John watched as Mo Shen held a straw doll, preparing his tools. John looked at the doll, which had a talisman on it, and asked, What is this? Mo Shen replied, This is a substitute doll. If the sect leader is possessed again, he will definitely lose his life. Once I connect it with the sect leader, I can trick the evil spirit. This doll is the sect leader. Mo Shen brought the talisman close to the doll, which stood still on the ground, the severed arm of the sect leader beside it. I'm starting now. Mo Shen chanted, "Resurrect the spirit, change heaven and earth, bring life from death, and banish all evil spirits." The sect leader's eyes turned blue. And he screamed. John and Cao Tone were stunned. As the demonic hand grabbed the doll, Mo Shen continued chanting, "Resurrect the spirit, bring forth life, banish all evil, follow the sacred law." Mo Shen thought to himself, "It's too strong. If I force it further, the demon will break free. At that point, he certainly won't believe me. What should I do?" Mo Shen, with a wicked smile, thought of an idea. He spoke, "Young master, I have controlled the demon. It's fine as long as the demon is here, right?" Cao Tone opened the door, thinking, "Maybe it's better for me to leave." Cao Tone said, "I'll step outside for a moment." Mo Shen continued, "Let's begin. Resurrect the spirit, change heaven and earth, bring forth life from death, banish all evil spirits." The sect leader lay on the bed, grimacing and growling. His eyes glowed as he growled. "Who's calling me?" Mo Shen shouted. "Follow the law. Spirit, answer me." The spirit responded, "What do you want to ask?" Mo Shen said, "Where are the sect leader's manual and seal?" The sect leader, still on the bed, screamed. The spirit responds, "Under the herb hall. Past the stone gate." Both of them thought, "Under the herb hall, past the stone gate?" The demon's hand gripped the doll tightly. In an instant, the objects in the room were thrown everywhere. Mo Shen quickly said, "Young master, cut the thread." Mo Shen explained, "The demon is trying to consume the sect leader's body." Quickly, John drew his sword and severed the demon's hand gripping the sect leader's legs. The arms crawled up John's legs, wrapping around his body. John looked in shock at Mo Shen, who grinned evilly. The arms wrapped around John, covering his entire body, even his face. A choking sound echoed. Mo Shen pressed the talisman onto John's forehead. From the start, it had been a monster, with an overwhelming murderous chi. The seal had been broken, and it was only a matter of time. But luckily, it had possessed this bastard. This was actually not bad at all. Mo Shen, holding the doll, pointed toward John, who was still being sealed, dazed and kneeling on the ground. Mo Shen laughed wickedly. "I've completed my task, and removed the obstacle in my way. It's truly a two-in-one deal. I'll blame all these problems on you now." A voice rose up, and with it, eyes continuously appeared. "You dare deceive me with this doll? Unforgivable. How dare you play with me? Look at you, still so young. I'll take over your body and replace that old man, leaving you trapped in your own mind forever." At that moment, sunlight pierced through the gaps in the leaves, landing on John's shoulder. John, with a bewildered expression, carried the water jug, looking at the fresh, green leaves. In front of him was a cool, clear stream. John looked at it and said, "This place isn't this the hot spring I always come to?" The trees were lush, and birds chirped on the branches, with a peaceful mountain in the background. "I know this place well." John, standing by the stream, beside the flowing water. "Here's the spring where I get water every morning. No matter how hard I try, I can't forget it." John picked up the jug, filled it with water. "This is the place I always come to. But today, something feels different." John carried the jug and walked back. "Why do I feel so uneasy? I think I've forgotten something." In the distance, he saw black smoke rising, with flames burning. John, shocked, turned to see his house. He immediately threw the jug aside and ran. John rushed back, shouting, "Grandfather, please, 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 grandfather." John ran towards the house, yelling. John was stunned, looking at the old man lying on the ground, covered in blood. John couldn't believe it and screamed, "Grandfather!" He rushed to help him up. "Wake up, grandfather!" John was in shock, unable to comprehend. "This can't be. Who did this?" John silently prayed, "Please, grandfather, don't leave me here alone. Now I realize how much the presence of my grandfather means to me. Grandfather, you truly mean everything to me." John, heartbroken, tightly embraced his grandfather, burying his face in his chest. The spirit spoke, "Enough." The upper-level demon watched the most heartbreaking scene, the most precious thing for John, and spoke, "That is your desire." The upper-level demon extended its hand, emitting light. Purple rays flew toward John, wrapping around him, entering through his ears. A voice rang out, "Why are you sitting there, child?" The purple rays reached John's eyes, and he was startled. The image of his house, which hadn't burned down, his grandfather holding a basket and speaking, "Come, help me out here. Why are you just standing there looking around? The purple rays had infiltrated John's body. He was confused. Grandfather, what has happened? The purple rays entered his eyes, and his eyes changed to a blue color. John, moved, rushed to embrace his grandfather. Grandfather. His grandfather, startled, didn't understand. Why is this child suddenly, oh, I'm falling. John held his grandfather tightly, choking on his words. Grandfather, he thought to himself, I won't let you go again. You're the only reason I'm alive. When I should have died. Grandfather gently patted his head and said, this child is strange. The upper-level demon watched and smiled. All right, this is it. A precious past, lost memories, and family bonds. Eternal happiness. John and his grandfather sat together, talking. Grandfather, I have something to ask you. Why did you name me John? The spirit watched them. Then stay with your grandfather forever. Never lose that precious bond again. John glanced around and spoke aloud. Spirit, what's this? The spirit's eyes were filled with astonishment. What's going on? John said as he grabbed the face of the upper-level demon. He held the demon tightly and smiled, saying, thanks to you, I'm reminded of this unpleasant memory. The upper-level demon couldn't believe its ears. How can you see me? John squeezed the face of the upper-level demon. Furious. How dare you play with the person I lost? But perhaps, I think you and I have misunderstood something. John gritted his teeth, his voice cold and full of hate. My greatest wish for happiness. If so, you had to do it right. My wish is not to revive my grandfather, but to make those who harmed him live a life worse than death. That is what I desire. John's eyes were full of hatred, sharp as a blade. The upper-level demon, overwhelmed by the pressure of John's aura, sensed something deep within himself. Something was churning, a deep-seated resentment full of murderous intent. It was not an ordinary murderous chi. Pure evil, which even vengeful spirits dare not approach. How could an ordinary person carry such a feeling while still alive? However, something stopped the demon's intention to kill. What was it? Grandfather, from the distance, spoke. John, I have to tell you why I named you John. You're a special child, different from others. But this old man wanted you to grow up to be a good and righteous person. Which is why I gave you the name John. True to your name, I hope you'll do what is right, and never lose your way. Grandfather was slowly fading, and he added, from now on, remember to grow up with honor. Grandfather disappeared, and the demon's hand squeezed John's face tightly. The upper-level demon screamed, finally breaking free from John's grip. Run, now. John grabbed his scythe and chased after the upper-level demon. This guy was truly mad. He had to dig deeper into this person's mind. John, holding the scythe, chased after him. Luckily, I've already entered his body. The demon thought, I must control his consciousness quickly. The demon's foot stepped on the green grass, standing under the blue sky, with sunlight shining down. At that moment, the upper-level demon stood in the middle of a lush field of green flowers. A meadow. This was deeply hidden in this person's mind? In front of the upper-level demon, there was a door sealed with a talisman. A sealed door. Could this person's memories also be sealed? But why? It didn't matter now. The task was to open it and penetrate deeper. The upper-level demon reached out and touched the door. As long as it was infiltrated, it was done. Just before the demon could touch it, dark smoke appeared. What is this? The upper-level demon was surrounded by black threads, which wrapped around his legs. The demon panicked. Can he control me? No, it can't be. Stop. If this continues, I'll be killed by that person. The upper-level demon was entangled by black rays, his arm reaching out for help, letting out a loud scream. John, startled, opened his eyes. Mo Shen returned to reality. The purple energy radiated from his body, and John was sealed by the talisman. Mo Shen heard the sound, unable to believe it. It's impossible. John opened his eyes and reached up to remove the talisman from his forehead. He stood up, his hands filled with dark energy. John looked coldly. Mo Shen could hardly believe his eyes as he watched what unfolded in front of him. John glanced at him and ordered, "Summon the demon." The demon nodded, complying with the order. At the same time, in another place in the sect leader's estate, the scene unfolded with a sigh of sorrow. A figure sat on the steps, deep in thought. It was the interior lord of the Wood Sword sect, Zhang Dan Shen. Zhang Dan Shen reminisced about the sect leader. From his youth, a heroic figure with great talent. Everything he does is for the name of the Wood Sword sect. What he does, everyone believes to be the right thing. I'm lucky to have met and known him. 19 years ago, during a pirate suppression operation in Hainan. At that time, I was also a renowned swordsman in the martial world, with exceptional martial arts skills. At that time, the sect leader and I worked together to rid Hainan of the pirates causing chaos. Afterward, I followed the sect leader back to the Wood Sword sect and became a division leader under his command. I swore to be loyal to him until death. Zhang Dan Shen tilted his head, looking at the sky, and sighed. But the current situation, I don't understand how it ended up like this. Zhang Dan Shen recalled Lady Thatch's words. The Interior Lord's proposition. Do you think it's right to hand over the control of the Wood Sword sect to that young man? For the future of the Wood Sword sect, I think you should temporarily hide and wait. Wait for the healer to find the position of the manual and the sect leader's seal. Out of loyalty to the sect leader, I silently followed that suggestion. But in my heart, I still have many doubts. I don't understand why the sect leader ended up in such a state. Can the healer actually do anything? Or are they planning to use some kind of drug to control the sect leader? Zhang Dan Shen rested his chin on his hand. Deep in thought, he decided to stand up, cursing to himself. Damn it, I can't just sit and wait like this. Waiting around like this is not in my nature. I need to take action. I can't let them harm the sect leader. Zhang Dan Shen grabbed his sword and headed toward the sect leader's room. I may need to return to the Wood Sword sect to see what they are up to. Mo Shen was alarmed, thinking, the evil energy, how did it suddenly become this powerful? This is definitely a high-level demon. John smiled and called, summon the demon and kill the healer for me. The demon obeyed the order and attacked. Mo Shen was drenched in sweat. Stunned, how can he order the demon to attack me? This is impossible. This evil spirit is a primal soul. They only follow their own desires. How can they follow the command of a human? This demon has too much evil in it. No human can control it. Mo Shen struggled to defend himself. The demon launched an attack, and Mo Shen was knocked back. Mo Shen hit the wall, staring at the demon in disbelief. The demon's eyes were glowing red, smiling cruelly. Mo Shen, terrified, thought, no. The demon moved closer. Mo Shen screamed, don't come near me. The demon opened its mouth and lunged at him. Mo Shen was scared. The demon's chest was filled with hands reaching out, grabbing, its eyes glowing. The demon reached out, grabbing Mo Shen's arms. The demon monk grabbed Mo Shen. Mo Shen dragged his body, crying for help. Please save me, young master. Please spare my life, young master. If you ever need me to do something, I will obey. John crossed his arms, standing with a cold demeanor, and replied, don't bother. Mo Shen, in despair, said, young master, you want to kill me? Just because I deceived you? Please, young master. John interrupted, that's not it. Simply because you knew about the seal and the manual of martial arts. Knowing too much in this world is not always a good thing, is it? The bastard had been plotting from the start. Mo Shen was dragged away by the demon monk, struggling to resist, his hands gripping the floor, blood seeping through the cracks, leaving long trails of blood. Mo Shen's face was gripped by the demon monk's hands. You're killing me, Mo Shen muttered weakly. John tilted his head, looking towards the door. Come in, Cao Tone. It's over. Now. Cao Tone entered, startled, exclaiming, Mo Shen's body, he's been killed. Covered in blood. Mo Shen's body was dead, his eyes still wide open. Master, he's dead, Cao Tone said. John, bending down to pick up the sword on the floor, replied, move the body out of the sect leader's room. Don't leave it here. If there's anything else, we'll talk later. Cao Tone obeyed. Yes, master. The healer's death had occurred like this. John raised his sword, scattering the items in the room. As the sword struck and shattered objects around him, his face remained cold, his sword constantly raised, explaining, he was possessed by the evil spirit in the sect leader. Because his magic was insufficient, he went mad, swinging his sword wildly. When the sect leader couldn't defend himself, he went crazy and severed his arm. I tried to stop him, but it was too late. In the end, I had to strike him down. To stop the madness, Cao Tone, holding Mo Shen's body, couldn't speak. Cao Tone asked, young master, do you mean you staged the healer's madness to cover up what really happened? John, sensing the implication, asked, Do you think there's something wrong? Cao Tone thought to himself. What he says makes sense. But will those people believe it? Lady Thatch is very suspicious. She'll definitely investigate this thoroughly. Cao Tone spoke. Young master, I think we should be cautious. We can't rush things. If there's any mistake, you might lose your life. John replied. Do you think there's still a gap? Somewhere? Cao Tone replied. Whatever is said, the healer was invited by Lady Thatch. He must have been the one behind it all. The young master just explained that he was possessed by the evil spirit. Went mad, and you killed him to stop him from harming the sect leader. This explanation sounds reasonable, but Lady Thatch is too suspicious. How could she just trust and let it go? Especially since this is such an important matter. John agreed. You're right, I haven't thought this through properly. Perhaps I need to add a bit more to make it more trustworthy. John raised his sword. What are you going to do now? Young master? The healer went mad and severed the sect leader's arm. I tried to stop him. But with my strength, I was also severely injured by him. John stabbed the sword into his own thigh. Blood splattered everywhere. Cao Tone, shocked, said, This is a bit too much. John threw the blood-stained sword away. He wiped his face with one hand, the other hand covered in red stains. Now, does it seem more trustworthy? Cao Tone looked at the person in front of him and thought. This guy is really crazy. But I guess it makes sense. With Lady Thatch's temperament, if she doesn't do this much, how could she ever trust him? Better to take a sword wound than lose my life. After seeing this with my own eyes, I still feel this bastard's thoughts run too deep. Which terrifies me. Cao Tone said, Let me bandage your wounds. Young master. John sat on the overturned table. His feet soaked in blood but refused. It's fine. Leave it. This looks more trustworthy now. And the more terrifying, the better. Now, I'll follow him closely and stay alert. So I won't end up dead without understanding the reason. Anyway, I'll stay close to him. But be careful not to let him target me. Just then, the door to the room opened. Cao Tone, startled, exclaimed, Master, why are you here? Zhang Dan Shen looked at everything in the room in horror. What's going on here? Before them, the sect leader lay on the bed. Mo Shen was slumped beside the sect leader. Zhang Dan Shen angrily shouted. What are you two doing? Are you trying to assassinate the sect leader? Cao Tone quickly said. Please calm down. This is all a misunderstanding. John also quickly advised. Please calm down. First, check the sect leader's condition. I tried my best. John collapsed to the ground. Unconscious. Zhang Dan Shen shouted. What has happened here? The healer. Why is he dead over there? And why is the third young master here? Explain everything to me right now. Cao Tone glanced at John lying on the ground and smiled. Cao Tone cursed in his mind. This bastard. Is he laughing? It seems like he's playing a part in this act. At the herbal hall, the herbs were neatly arranged, and the cabinets were stocked with a variety of medicines. John lay on the bed, one leg injured, curled up, with his hands behind his head, thinking. The smell of the herbs calmed his mind a little. Lying in the herbal hall within the stone gate, it felt so comfortable. He was lucky to have come to the right place. Where the secret the sect leader had mentioned was hidden. It really was a two-in-one deal. Not only did he avoid Lady Thatch, but he also came here to investigate. But as I was saying, the manual and the seal can't be found easily here. Now there are still too many obstacles, including those serving here. Therefore, the best I can do is stay still and observe. Cao Tone, with one arm bandaged, entered. Young master, I've arrived. John sat up. What took you so long? Cao Tone pulled 2 books from inside his cloak. These are the books of the healer I managed to find. You asked for them, young master. All right, thank you. But you only found 2? Yes, Lady Thatch had them. So, everything was difficult to act upon. Before they could burn everything the healer had, I could only secretly get these 2. John, holding one of the books, asked, So you mean they're burning everything? Yes, the lady has ordered the destruction of all, even the healer's remains. Perhaps she wants to erase all evidence. Thinking about it, that seems normal. Given her disposition, I understand. John looked back and forth between the 2 books, thinking, at least there are 2 left. The Yin-Yang Mystical Arts Tome and the Beginner's Guide to Sorcery. It's a bit of a loss. But what can be done? Thanks again. But why do you keep staring at me like that? Cao Tone replied. No, I was just curious. I don't understand. Young master, what do you plan to do with these 2 books? Do you understand what's written in them? John pointed towards the window, asking, look out the window. Can you see anything out there? Cao Tone walked closer, and in front of him was the night sky, filled with clouds. I can't see anything outside. But there, standing in the distance, he could see the shadow of the demon monk. John said, that's why I need to read these books. Do you understand now? So, you mean there's a sound outside that shouldn't be there? Yes, young master. He hasn't fully recovered yet. Cao Tone responded. Step aside, let me do it. At that moment, the door opened and Lady Thatch entered. She looked displeased as she spoke. May I speak with you? John lowered his gaze and looked at Lady Thatch. She walked in and noticed John lying on the bed. Let's talk for a bit. Cao Tone, standing in front of John, bowed and said, Greetings, Lady Thatch. John thought to himself, Lady Thatch, she's the woman in the painting. The first wife of the Wood sect leader. From the Thatch family, a martial family. Thatch lady. She is someone the demon guard keeps a close eye on. She comes from a martial family. A first-rate martial artist. And she is also a very clever woman. He told me to be extra cautious with the eldest son. Mok An Hao. John also cupped his hands and bowed. Please forgive me, lady. Due to my injury, I am unable to stand and show proper respect. Cao Tone, relieved, thought to himself. At least he knows how to behave properly. If you continue to act this flexibly, nothing will go wrong. Lady Thatch spoke. I didn't come here to listen to your greetings. John, not fully understanding, responded with a, yes. Lady Thatch, with one hand, struck a powerful blow, right onto the wound on John's thigh. Blood sprayed, and both Cao Tone and John were stunned. John screamed, and Cao Tone, horrified, shouted, what the? At that moment, Huo En raised his sword and placed it against Cao Tone's neck. Huo En coldly said, don't move. Lady Thatch looked at John's leg and smiled, saying, looks like you really are hurt. You're quite something, even daring to stab your own leg to prove your innocence. Your testimony is quite convincing, at least for the interior lord. But there's one thing you don't know. A true sorcerer would never be possessed. You say he went mad and ran away? Lady Thatch laughed loudly. She slapped John across the face. How dare you lie to me with such a clumsy lie? John was sent flying off the bed by the slap. Cao Tone anxiously shouted, young master. Lady Thatch continued, questioning him further. I want to hear. What have you seen and heard? John sat against a statue by the window. His thigh bandaged, now soaking in blood that dripped onto the floor. Blood also dripped from his mouth as he smiled. The others were shocked, not understanding why John was smiling like this. John laughed louder, his laughter full of joy. Lady Thatch, extremely irritated, muttered, has he lost his mind? John smiled. He opened his eyes, full of danger, and called for the demon monk. The demon monk appeared at the window. The monk rushed toward Lady Thatch, passing through her body. Lady Thatch felt something and said, something just passed by. Behind her, one of the maids was strangled and lifted into the air. Lady Thatch thought to herself, what's happening now? John approached from behind, whispering in Lady Thatch's ear, the manual and the seal are the things you're looking for, right? The maid, struggling to breathe, cried out. The people below yelled, Talene, Talene. Lady Thatch looked at John. He said, if that's the case, then let's negotiate properly. Stop threatening me with these petty tricks. Lady Thatch gritted her teeth. John, with one uninjured leg and the other bleeding, said, I have no intention of competing for the position of sect leader. Whether you believe me or not is up to you. However, it's not just Mok An Hao who wants to become the sect leader. John's face grew more dangerous. You've treated me like this. Should I go and find my second brother? Lady Thatch looked at the man in front of her and gritted her teeth. Extremely uncomfortable, John cut her off, saying, I've heard that the youngest brother is very skilled in martial arts. Now, our relationship isn't very good. If you give me a little payment for reconciliation, wouldn't that be better? Lady Thatch's face was covered in sweat. John stood up and said, you also know who holds the reins now, right? It's really cold. Look, you're shivering from the cold. John teased, watching Lady Thatch's furious shaking. At Lady Thatch's residence in the Hua district, there were sounds of things breaking. Lady Thatch was stomping on the furniture, cursing loudly. How dare he? How dare he do this? Huo En stood nearby, advising, please calm down, lady. Lady Thatch shouted, can you tell me to calm down? That bastard threatened me. Can't you see? Lady Thatch ran her hand over her face in exhaustion. Her thoughts filled with anger. Damn it, I let my guard down with that useless brat. I thought he would tremble and beg for mercy. If he was scared. But how did he change so suddenly? Or rather, it seems like he's a completely different person now. It can't be. All this time, he's been hiding his true nature. Hasn't he? Thinking back, he was pretty clever when he was young. But after his mother died and his maternal family went bankrupt, he started becoming useless. Maybe he was pretending to be weak to protect himself. Even if he is weak, I should never let my guard down like this. Huo-en spoke up. I will kill him for you. Lady. Before he uses any more dark magic, Lady Thatch placed both hands on the table and said, if the manual and seal fall into the wrong hands, it will be a huge problem. Huo-en replied, then what should we do? Lady Thatch closed her eyes and continued, but I also don't want to be controlled by him like this. Lady Thatch opened her eyes and ordered, notify the Ghost Spirit Pavilion. About the death of the healer. Mo Shen. Yes, Huo-en replied, his mind in shock. The Ghost Spirit Pavilion? Understood. That's the sect of the healer. Mo Shen. Mocked Jane Wan. I won't let you succeed. At midnight, in the herbal hall, a voice echoed, yin and yang. The original text of the scriptures. The deceased become vengeful spirits. To become a monstrous spirit depends on certain conditions, and that spirit becomes a murderous spirit. Sitting in the room, John was reading the 2 books of Mo Shen. He flipped through the pages and pointed to a passage. The first level is the spirit of chains. At this level, it's still a worldly soul, but it can affect living beings, making them feel cold or giving them chills. The second level is the spirit of curse. This type of spirit can attach itself to another person, making them feel heavy or exhausted to the point of immobility. The third level is the royal spirit. From this level onwards, it is extremely dangerous and must be exorcised from the possessed body. They say that at the royal spirit level, it can bring forth murderous intent, and the possessed will gradually die. John looked at the monk beside him. Have you found it yet? John thought to himself. To be honest, the monk is already at the royal spirit level. John's hand touched the nearby medicine cabinet. The Go Luong was a type of medicine rarely used. John remembered earlier when the monk could find the way down to the basement, or pass through this wall. Earlier, the monk's power didn't work on Lady Thatch, who was standing right in front of it. That's why it rushed straight to the servant behind her. I've tried attacking Sao Tone, and it still worked. A light appeared between the 2 medicine cabinets, and they slowly parted. John walked in. He thought, Lady Thatch is the top martial artist, right? Then, it probably won't work on Sao Tone either, who is at the same level as her. Then, John turned the pages of the book. Owning a stronger monster spirit wouldn't be a bad idea. The book showed an image of the 6th spirit, a vengeful soul that had existed for decades. It could affect everything around it, and create illusions for other creatures. It was very dangerous, requiring a strong countermeasure. John quickly closed the book and said, that's it. John grabbed the lamp and headed towards the path that was opened earlier. Should I go now? Not finding the seal and manual yet, John moved slowly down the path, evaluating it. This is really deep. The man had built this secret chamber, so deep to hide the manual and the seal. I understand now. Those things are really valuable, which is why they'll do anything to get them. I will never let them fall into their hands. The monk's power didn't work on Sao Tone, so I need something stronger to deal with him. Ahead, there was a door. This must be it. John opened it. Down below, in the medicine hall, there were 4 stone doors. John opened one of the stone doors, evaluating. Maybe I need to go deeper. John glanced around and wondered, is it necessary to go in? His foot stepped on a large square stone, and the stones above began to fall. A large stone, with a rope hanging from the ceiling, fell right where John was. He quickly dodged, surprised that there was a trap here. Ahead, there was a sparkling light, and from it came 3 arrows. Then came many more arrows. John reacted quickly and dodged all of them. One arrow was headed straight for him. John raised the lamp to block it, and the impact created a flash of light. John watched as the arrow hit the lamp, smiling. Next, another large stone fell. Got it. This is truly the time to pay the price. A secret chamber deep inside a trap-laden cave. John dodged counterattacks, constantly thinking, is that manual really worth this much? The arrows hit the stone walls, causing debris to scatter. John glanced behind him, thinking, maybe there's something else here that's even more valuable. Next, sharp metal objects fell down. John easily passed through, one hand landing, his mouth holding the lamp as he adjusted his sleeve. John took the lamp from his mouth, his eyes slightly surprised. He had arrived. Ahead was a fully decorated space. He never expected such a wooden place to be located underground. Moreover, everything was so orderly. John walked forward, everything neat and tidy, with books, lamps, ink, and pens. John guessed that it seemed like someone lived here. Could there be someone practicing here? Well, if there is, so be it. John continued walking until he reached the middle, where a box was right in front of him. Found it, the 9 muk ton kiam. 9 muk wa tam fap. Opening the box revealed 2 books. John remembered what Sao Tone had said. As Sao Tone mentioned, the manual was divided into 2 parts, the sword technique and the mental method. John picked up both books and stuffed them into his robe, taking both of them. But then, John wondered, there are only 2 books of the manual, and yet they built such a big room. That's odd. What's that? John saw another chest. Seemed pretty heavy and didn't have any function. There were also some drag marks on the floor. Maybe there's something there. John pulled the chest out. He knew it. Underneath was a piece of wood, like a door, sealed with charms as if it was locked. There were also a few more charms on the floor. John reached out and opened a small wooden box. It also had a charm on it, sealed by a spell. A strange energy was emanating. John removed the charm. Could it be that what he wanted to hide wasn't the manual? Then the lamp next to it suddenly lit up. John was surprised. What? Why did the lamp light up? The lamp went out again, returning to darkness. John, with the opened box in his hand. Inside the small wooden box was a book, with a leather cover. So it wasn't an ordinary book. It emitted a nauseating smell, and there was floral embroidery on it. It was made of human skin. John smiled wickedly, looking at the strange book in his hand. At that moment, somewhere else, a sound echoed. Drums were beating louder and louder, more and more festive. Many people were having fun, laughing joyfully. That's more like it. Wonderful. All right, someone new spoke. It was the second son, Mok and Bin. Mok and Bin opened the window, continuously expressing his admiration. Wonderful. So lively. The Mok Keen Trang looks much brighter today. It must be because I've gotten closer to the position of the lord of the house. And Bin raised his cup, cheerfully saying, thank you, you've come to my side. Cam Ho Vei walked toward and Bin. He cupped his hands and said, Cam Ho Vei pays respects to the young master. He raised the cup of wine and spoke. Apologies for keeping you waiting so long. I was planning to prepare a more extravagant banquet for you, but my father still doesn't feel well. Cam Ho Vei bowed again. No need. I'm very grateful for your warm welcome, young master. He stepped forward, helping the young master and saying, all right, let's go inside. The guards responded, yes, young master. A group of people entered, playing drums. The young master stood there, tapping his chin, his expression cunning. So, what you're saying is that Mok Kinban has lost his martial arts? Cam Ho Vei's face tensed. He recalled what had happened earlier and thought, yes, the real one is dead. The fake one currently has no martial arts. It's not a lie. But I have no intention of revealing that the current Mok Kinban is an imposter. If everyone finds out that I failed to protect the master, I'll be in danger. And that fake person knows the consequences. So he dared to make demands on me. He then answered, yes, that's correct. He thought to himself, but I won't let things go according to your plan. Cam Ho Vei's face became serious, and he spoke. The current Mok Kinban cannot use any martial arts. After speaking, the thought crossed his mind. I'll offer your head up to prove my loyalty to the second young master. The young master stood with one hand behind his back, the other gently stroking his chin as he smiled. That fool. He never had any talent to begin with. And now he's lost his martial arts too. If he could defeat me, that would be truly absurd. Thanks to you, I've learned some useful information. So, should I thank you now? He paused, then asked, can you tell me why he lost his martial arts? If it's your mistake, I'll let it slide. After all, who doesn't make mistakes in this world? Cam Ho Vei bowed. Please forgive me. I can't tell you yet, young master, because if the truth is revealed, I'll be finished. Still in the same posture, the guard quickly spoke to avoid misunderstanding. Don't worry, even if you don't know the reason. Nothing will go wrong with your plan. The young master sat down, smiling joyfully. All right, I trust you, Cam Ho Vei. Because you are Cam Ho Vei. You are a former assassin from that place, aren't you? As he said this, the young master's expression gradually became more dangerous. And at the same time, the guard also tensed up. He thought, seeing the change in him. The young master. He's not as naive as I thought. The young master suddenly moved closer to the guard, revealing a murderous aura. Is it so? Could it be that it's a secret of yours? The guard panicked, thinking to himself, has he been monitoring me? He quickly responded, no, that's not it. He sat on the chair for a moment, then spoke, if anything comes up, I'll call for you. You can leave now. As the man walked away, the young master quickly grew suspicious. He still had something to hide, a secret about Mok Kin Van. He turned to his subordinates and ordered, go investigate, find out what he's hiding. Has he really lost his martial arts? If he's ranked among the top tier, then surely he must be able to pull this off, right? Tru Nyat Thuong asked, are you just checking? Then, he turned back and replied, if it's just that, then I'm not pleased at all. Go ahead, cripple his ankle for me. The subordinate responded, understood. The scene shifted to a room where Chin Nhi stood, reading a book, deep in thought. The sensation of the leather cover under his fingertips wasn't imaginary. But the paradox was, this wasn't a living thing. His face changed. The sensation felt like the heartbeat of someone about to die. Why was this object here? It was very strange. He wanted to tear the beads apart and check what was hidden inside. As he examined it, a flash of light appeared. He turned, surprised, and called out, Ma Tang. He then asked, what's going on? When he saw the horrified look on Ma Tang's face, he thought, why is Ma Tang reacting this way? Indeed, there was something hidden in this book. But if Ma Tang came here from Cao Tung's place to keep an eye on him, then it meant someone was coming close to his room. This meant an intruder was nearby. As he thought this, he looked up at the ceiling. And outside, a figure dressed in black was moving very quickly. The figure stopped beneath a tree. He was surprised. Cao Tong, the guard? Cao Tong stood yawning outside the room. The figure thought again, why is he just standing outside? He's not protecting his injured master. What is that young master really up to? He tiptoed to the window, peeking inside in surprise. Why is he just sleeping? Then why did he order Cao Tong to stand outside? First, I need to check if there's anything suspicious inside. He chuckled and muttered to himself. Well, this is exactly what I expected. He has a secret. How could he? Forget it. That's not important. With this, his master will have the upper hand. My young master will win. At that moment, Chin Nhi was standing behind him. He grabbed the man's head and slammed it hard against the table, saying, what are you doing in my bedroom? It's late, and you're still not asleep? The man in black was shocked. Wait, he's pretending to be asleep? Chin Nhi continued, while repeatedly slamming his head onto the table. Blood splattered everywhere. Well then, I'll help you sleep. I'm too kind, aren't I? The man panicked, thinking to himself, this is terrifying. After a while, he woke up. Chin Nhi spoke up. Oh, you're awake now. The man in black was Tru Nyat Thuong, and he was now hanging upside down from the ceiling. He panicked and screamed, where am I? Then he took the knife and said to him, now, tell me everything. Cao Tong rushed in, panic-stricken, and asked Zhu Yi Cheng, why is he here? Jin Ni sat on the ground beside him. Zhu Yi Cheng asked again, do you know him? He replied, he is Zhu Yi Cheng, one of the 3 closest bodyguards of the second young master. Jin Ni was puzzled. The second young master? Then why did he break into my room? Cao Tong stood aside, resting his chin and thinking, I don't know either, but based on the sneaky way he's acting, he probably doesn't have good intentions. After hearing this, Jin Ni grabbed Zhu Yi Cheng and said, then we'll have to make him confess himself. Zhu Yi Cheng quickly intervened. What, you want to torture him? That can't happen. You better let him go. The second young master is famous for valuing his subordinates. If something happens to one of them, he won't let it slide. Jin Ni, hearing this, grabbed Cao Tong's hand tightly. Zhu Yi Cheng, with a painful look on his face, cried out. Then Jin Ni spoke. I will consider it. Cao Tong kneeled on the ground, shouting, no, don't do this, young master. It's too dangerous. You're from the second young master's faction. If you die, I won't know what to do. After shouting, he collapsed to the ground. But then he thought to himself, Maybe nothing will happen. Although you act like a fool, you're actually quite clever. Like back at the Mew house. You won't kill him, right? Zhu Yi Chang, bound on the floor, said, "Untie me now." Jin Ni calmly replied, "Untie you? Why should I?" He continued, "You can see for yourself. I'm following the orders of young master Mu En Bang. If you harm me, do you think you'll be able to keep your life? Don't do anything foolish. I'll speak well of you to the second young master. At least that way, you might preserve your life." He thought to himself, "You're just trying to scare me into revealing the plan, right? Do you think you can intimidate me?" Hearing this, Jin Ni smiled faintly. "How interesting." The man was surprised and said, "What do you mean?" Jin Ni pulled the knife from his hand and said to him, "I guess the second young master really cares about his subordinates. Even in a situation like this, you still trust your second young master so much? All right, I'll untie you." Saying that, Jin Ni moved to the back of him. Zhu Yi Cheng thought he was about to be untied and said, "Now you're thinking clearly. I'll speak well of you to him." Suddenly, blood began to drip in front of him. He cried out in surprise. "Ah!" Jin Ni suddenly sat down in front of him, holding up a finger and saying, "But look at this finger." Zhu Yi Cheng thought to himself, "Did he cut off his finger? But why don't I feel anything? I can't move, and I can't sense any internal energy." It was as if Jin Ni could read his thoughts. And then he spoke, "I've used a poison technique on you. I concocted it from some herbs in the pharmacy. You will lose all sensation from your neck down for several hours." He was in a hunched position, with his hands on the ground. In a panic, he shouted, "You!" Jin Ni, sitting beneath him, spoke up, "I have a few questions for you. For every second you don't answer, you will lose a finger. The first question: why did the second brother send you to break into my room? Answer quickly." After speaking, Jin Ni raised the knife, his face menacing. The man was horrified and screamed, Wait, let me think." Jin Ni started counting. 1, 2. "If you don't confess, don't blame me." As he spoke, he began counting while cutting off the man's finger. Blood sprayed across the man's face. He screamed, "Damn it, stop." But Jin Ni continued counting. 3, 4, 5. It was clear that his fear had reached its peak. Finally, the man spoke, "Please, I beg you." Jin Ni raised the blood-stained knife in front of him and said, "Next is the thumb." The man, panicking, confessed, "Young Master Mu En Bing ordered me. I was investigating why you lost your martial arts skills." Jin Ni thought to himself, "Why did I lose my martial arts skills? He's probably telling the truth." He continued with the next question. "Did Captain Cam say this?" The man hesitated, terrified. Yes, that's right." Upon hearing this, Jin Ni said, "He's quite clever. He only told half the truth to save his own life." The bound man was still thinking. How did he know Cam was betraying him? When did he become so smart? Has he been suspicious of Cam all along? Or was Cam the one he placed in the second young master's faction? No, then he wouldn't have tortured me. Jin Ni turned to look at him and said, "But now I can't think of any more questions. So what now?" The man broke into a cold sweat, thinking, "I'm doomed." Seeing Jin Ni's terrifying expression, he hastily spoke up, "I swear to be loyal to you. I didn't know you were this smart. You're perfect for the position of the clan leader. Please, give me the chance to choose the right path." Mu clan leader, "I swear I will sacrifice my life for you. Please spare me. I'll do anything for you. Please, I beg of you." Jin Ni stood there and replied, "All right, I have a task for you. I can give you an order. Right?" The man, thrilled, thought to himself, "I'm saved." He eagerly replied, "Of course, please, give me your order." But just as he spoke, Jin Ni stabbed the knife into his throat. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. Jin Ni softly spoke, "But you said you'd sacrifice your life for me. Well, let me borrow some of your blood." Seconds before his death, the man thought bitterly, "You bastard, what the hell are you thinking? Why am I dying?" Jin Ni, holding the book in his hand, spoke, "You can't just use strength to unlock this chain. I think this is a seal. That was mentioned in the book Yin and Yang Family's Secret Manual. According to the book, this method is used to seal something unholy using vital energy. So if something unclean touches it, it can weaken the vital energy. The blood of Zhu Yi Chang, who died unjustly, will be the thing that affects it. I'll pour this blood filled with resentment onto the book, and the unholy presence in it will form." As he spoke, he placed the book underneath Zhu Yi Chang. Fresh blood poured onto the book. The string of beads suddenly snapped violently. Jin Ni said, "Let's see what comes out of this." Suddenly, a stream of fresh blood gushed out, splashing at his feet, spraying all over the room. Jin Ni, startled, thought, "What?" The book became drenched in red blood. Blood splattered up in front of Jin Ni. Then the blood seemed to distort. A figure emerged from the blood. The figure appeared, and the blood splattered at Jin Ni's feet, forming a pool of fresh blood. Jin Ni's eyes widened in surprise. In the blood, a red fabric swirled, with butterflies flying around. A woman in a red robe stepped toward Jin Ni. She walked slowly, her long white legs bare. A woman submerged in a sea of blood. Appearing before him, a girl with white hair, wearing a hood, dressed in a crimson robe, walked toward Jin Ni. Jin Ni stood to the side, shocked, thinking to himself, a vengeful spirit at the level of Lu Ling. The fifth level mentioned in the Yin and Yang family's secret manual. Is Sheng Ling. Honestly, I thought a vengeful spirit of the Lu Ling level would appear. But I didn't expect to be this lucky. While he was thinking, suddenly, a stream of fresh blood wrapped around him. The girl beside him shouted, "You idiot, release your soul, and offer it to me." Saying that, she pulled out the hairpin from her hair and held it in her hand. Looking proud, Jin Ni thought, a Sheng Ling vengeful spirit at the fifth level is an ancient soul filled with hatred. Having existed for decades, its power is enough to cause a massive impact in this area. It can create illusions for the eyes and ears. To harm the target, it must be eradicated. It's extremely dangerous. The hairpin she pulled out was also a cigarette. As she smoked, she looked at him and asked, "Why haven't you released your soul yet? You're so slow." Jin Ni collapsed to the ground, thinking to himself with a smug expression. The book said they are extremely dangerous. I think now I understand why it says that. He smiled and said, "Interesting." The Sheng Ling was slightly surprised and said, "What?" Jin Ni's hand was submerged in the blood pool. And he continued, "No matter how powerful a vengeful spirit's level is, you all still covet other people's bodies. I found something interesting for me. It seems like your soul can't do anything without a physical body, right?" She still stood there calmly, smoking. "If you're so desperate for my body, why don't you use your real power to take it?" He was speaking when suddenly, a stream of blood shot out, tightening around his arm, causing him to fall into the blood pool. Sheng Ling slowly stepped forward, launching an attack. "You foolish fool. Die. Do you have the nerve to force me to act?" With that, a stream of blood shot quickly and powerfully towards Jin Ni's face. Half of his face was now missing skin. Only blood was flowing. Jin Ni cried out, "What the hell?" Sheng Ling, covered in blood, continued, "Now you see it. Finally, you're powerless. So now you only have one option left. To offer your soul to me." Jin Ni staggered but still managed to stand, gasping for air. She now seemed even more surprised, thinking to herself, even though his flesh is torn, his face scratched and shredded, how is he still resisting me? She said, "It seems you're not a common fool after all. But that doesn't matter. The human over there is impressive. I will give you a chance to negotiate. If you're willing to offer your soul to me, I will help you fulfill one of your desires." Jin Ni was startled and asked, "My desire? Why are you negotiating with me?" She approached him, floating in front of him, and replied, "Think about my offer carefully." He asked again, "Think?" She continued speaking, "If you keep resisting, your soul will be damaged, which would be useless to me." Jin Ni collapsed to the ground and asked, "What if I refuse?" Her face remained calm as she responded, "Then it's simple. I will kill you and find another soul to take." The stream of blood tightened around his neck. He hesitated and spoke, but her calm expression suddenly shifted to one of bright excitement. She shouted at him, "Yes, tell me your desire." After seeing the deep hatred in his heart, she said, "I know. You've lived a life full of hardship. Has someone betrayed you, or did they kill your loved ones? Speak quickly. No matter who it is, I will make them pay with their lives. I will make them lose their souls and spirits. Tell me now, what is your desire?" Jin Ni remained calm, his face showing no fear as he replied, "My desire is, you should shut your mouth and do your work for me." She ground her teeth in anger, her voice filled with rage. "You insolent fool, try to taste the full force of my power." With that, she launched a series of blood arrows at him. She said, "Do you feel the pain every time your flesh is torn apart? It feels like your bones are breaking and your body is being shredded, right?" She continued, I also feel a little embarrassed. Because I've caused some damage to your soul. Jin Ni was drowning in blood. His head filled with thoughts of the taste. It's even redder than the fruit of the tudu tree. It's mushy and filthy too. The taste is disgusting. Based on the sensations of touch, sight, and taste, it all shows it's blood. However, this one is different. I've tasted blood many times before. Back when I went by the name Lim Sat Kai. Does the taste of this blood resemble that time? He could feel the breath of life. The warmth and heat within himself. Which meant that he was still alive. But what he was feeling at this very moment was death. And it was all just an illusion. As he thought this, a strong beam of light suddenly appeared, brightening the whole space, throwing the girl far away. The fresh blood disappeared. He remained calmly standing in front of her. Sheng Ling stood there, stunned, unable to believe her eyes, thinking, no, this can't be. A blood butterfly appeared on Sheng Ling's hand, flying towards Jin Ni before vanishing. She thought to herself, to break free from these illusions that are fooling the five senses. There's a way to deny one's perception. Just hearing the theory and speaking it seems easy. But to actually perform the act of denying perception in reality, even first-rate experts find it difficult. How could a mere child, not even an expert, achieve this? It's hard to believe, she thought. Since birth, he has had the potential of an expert. Is that it? Suddenly, Jin Ni laughed out loud. She was astonished and asked, how can you still laugh? Although you've escaped the illusions I created, do you think you have the strength to control the situation? Jin Ni, with a serious expression, replied, I was just thinking of something interesting. Really? She asked, taken aback. Suddenly, she panicked and shouted. He held the book in his hand, thinking, according to the Yin and Yang family's secret manual, the older a vengeful spirit is, the more bizarre it becomes. There's a place for them to reside. And this book is it. After thinking that, he bit down on the book's cover with his teeth. The blood of Sheng Ling spurted out, splattering everywhere. She screamed in pain. Jin Ni smiled triumphantly and thought, it seems I was right. She angrily wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. You dare? No one has ever destroyed the book filled with dark energy. That's why first-rate experts sealed it away. How could you have destroyed it? She shouted at him. You've truly made me furious. With that, she lunged forward, grabbing Jin Ni's throat tightly, throwing him harshly to the ground. She pressed her face against his and screamed, if you're so brave, say this is just an illusion. Now I don't need your soul anymore, just die. You refuse the wine offered and want to drink the punishment wine instead? Now, your soul will scatter, and you'll be judged by King Yama. Lying on the ground, still with bits of paper in his mouth, Jin Ni chuckled and said, strange, you could have taken the book from my hands. But you didn't, just as I thought. You can't touch this book, right? Her face changed color, and Jin Ni smiled triumphantly, saying, if that's the case. She angrily tightened her grip on his throat, shouting, how dare you throw it away? Throw it away now. Jin Ni remained on the ground, calmly thinking, the blood from earlier that entered my body is now spreading throughout me. The blood was flowing backward, destroying his body. She, with an even more horrified expression, shouted loudly, spit it out now. He continued to think, the sensation of my body breaking apart in pain is like the first time I ate poisonous herbs. But what makes this pain even worse is the fury of this vengeful spirit. Her hatred for someone is so immense. It feels just like mine. I can clearly feel her burning desire for revenge. The more he saw her calm face, the angrier she became, shouting, you crazy bastard. As she screamed, she pressed even harder. Jin Ni immediately spat blood. Suddenly, the space shifted to another place. Jin Ni was standing in the middle of a blood pool, surrounded by corpses. He gasped in surprise. This place is a field full of dead bodies. From afar, Sheng Ling was holding a sword, kneeling on the ground. He recognized her silhouette and thought, that's Sheng Ling. She, with an exhausted expression, gripped the sword tightly, her body stained with fresh blood. But her gaze was still intense. Determined, she stood up, tearing her sleeve, wrapping her arm tightly around the sword, and moved towards the figure sitting high above. She said something, but Jin Ni couldn't understand it. He thought to himself, although I can't hear her words, I can feel her extreme anger. The one sitting high above had long white hair and antlers like a deer. She rushed toward him, but he punched her forcefully in the chest with one hand, ripped out her heart, and her body instantly fell to the ground, motionless. Next, his subordinates, each holding a knife, moved towards her lifeless body. One by one, they slashed at the corpse, which quickly broke into 100 pieces. All that remained was her white hair, the sword, and a book. Jin Ni suddenly woke up. A string was attached to him and Sheng Ling. Sheng Ling was shocked, nearly screaming, "Am I now a Shikigami? You fool! Hurry up and finish this for me." Then she rushed to grab Jin Ni's throat. But at the same time, her own throat was being squeezed. She quickly released her grip, gasping and shouting, "Damn it, you're still standing there." He touched his throat, thinking, it seems that a Shikigami and its master share the same pain. What about a Ma Tang? In that earlier situation, I felt like I died and was reborn. The Ma Tang didn't fare any better. He said to her, "Seems like we're bound together now. So, let's help each other. My name is Mu Jingfen, and you are. What should I call you?" She sat in the chair, smoking, and answered indifferently, "Call me whatever you want." He calmly replied, "Then I'll call you Hong Lu Jia Chong, which means red stag beetle." She angrily turned around and shouted, "Do you want to die?" He laughed loudly. "Looks like you don't like that name." Huh? She was furious but didn't know what to do. He only shouted, "Are you mocking me?" He continued with the original topic. "If you don't like it, then tell me your name." But the answer remained the same as before. She sat with her legs propped up on the chair, turning her face to the side and said, "Why should I tell my name to a mere mortal like you?" Jin Ni had no choice but to think to himself, since there's no other option, I'll just find an appropriate name for her. He then thought to himself, since this vengeful spirit's level is Sheng Ling, I'll call her Sheng Ling. He said to her, "I'll call you Sheng Ling." She remained indifferent, and he sighed, thinking, how arrogant, but I can't use my strength to tame her. If I want her, it's not going to be through force. I'll have to convince her gradually. Jin Ni held the book in his hand and asked her, "By the way, do you know what's inside this book?" Sheng Ling? She refused to answer him and responded, "Sheng Ling? Who is that? I don't know. I'm busy. Stop talking to me." Opening the book, he suddenly thought, these words are written in blood. The cover is made of skin, and the writing is in blood. I don't know who created it, but it's really interesting. But this is all nonsense. What do these words even mean? He rested his chin, thinking deeply. Sheng Ling sat to the side, smugly watching him. He felt uncomfortable, thinking, looks like she doesn't want to tell me. She just keeps looking at me like that. Does she want me to figure it out on my own? Suddenly, he exclaimed, I am in utter despair, having to rely on the mind of another. Before I fade into oblivion, I must seize a body. That seems impossible. Demons always block the path to good things. But the power of Shui Wei reverses everything. Sheng Ling was startled and immediately shouted, "What?" Jin Ni cried out, "The book is stuck to my hand." Sheng Ling panicked and shouted, No way. How can you do this?" Jin Ni was also surprised and replied, "I didn't do anything. It must be the book doing this." A wave of dark energy appeared from nowhere. She panicked and thought, this is bad. She screamed at Jin Ni, "You little brat, hold your breath, clear your mind, don't think about anything." Immediately, Jin Ni followed her instructions. The book also fell from his hand. Sheng Ling was amazed, thinking, how did he do that so quickly? He managed to break the ritual. A person with no martial arts skills can do this? No way. What's even stranger is, he discovered the secret of the ritual only after he died. You can only see things that the living cannot see after death. Jin Ni collapsed onto the chair, saying, suddenly, I feel suffocated, like I'm about to die. Why is this happening? She replied, because you didn't perform the ritual properly. You breathed wrong. He laughed and said, are you explaining this to me now? She snapped, suddenly realizing, and yelled in anger, I only said that, so your stupidity won't drag me into it. Jin Ni smiled and quickly responded, all right, then asked, so, what's this ritual about? Sheng Ling explained, as the name suggests, when you inhale something, it will attach to you. You can control something with your will. He asked again, do you mean I should inhale something into my body? But why is my stomach hurting and my veins tightening? She answered, that's because you tried to inhale something. But there was nothing but the book. You controlled the airflow, but couldn't draw anything in. So the flow got disturbed. Now, try inhaling it. She pointed at Zhu Yi Cheng's body. He asked, that guy? She replied, yes, Inhale the energy from his dantian. His energy will discharge because he's dead. Jin Ni dragged his body closer and asked. Dantian is below the navel, right? She looked at him disdainfully and said. You're asking me that? Jin Ni responded. Sheng Ling gestured to guide him. Now, read the incantation again. He sat down, placing his hand on his dantian, and thought, I am drowning in despair, having to rely on another's mind. Before I dissolve into oblivion, I must seize a body. That seems impossible. Demons always block the path to good things. But the power of Shui Wei reverses everything. Suddenly, a stream of purple energy appeared, and he thought, this is the warmth flowing through my bloodstream, entering my palm, and circling around my dantian. Sheng Ling stood to the side and spoke. You can inhale anything into your body. And energy is no exception. Do you feel it now? He continued to sit there, feeling a warm current surrounding his stomach. This is the energy Cao Tone mentioned. According to Cao Tone, it takes a long time to gather energy. But now I can absorb someone else's energy into my body. In other words, soon I'll be able to grow stronger. Just as he felt confident, the energy suddenly dissipated. He asked her, why did it fade away? She replied, of course, because that's the nature of energy. So, you need to use a special method to condense it. Otherwise, it won't gather in the dantian. This special method, she continued, only applies to this kind of pure energy. Therefore, it won't cause your energy to scatter and mix with other energies. Or more accurately, the ritual can't help you condense energy in your dantian. Jin Ni, disappointed, placed his hand on his waist and said, I thought I had found a shortcut. She laughed and replied, you think becoming a martial arts expert is as easy as eating porridge? But don't be too disappointed. If you can use the ritual, it still offers some great benefits. He asked her, what benefits? Sheng Ling thought to herself. The first step is also the basic step of the ritual, which is Po Zi Ba Shi. Once you master it, he will gain limitless abilities. She continued, even though it has dissipated everywhere, it's still energy. Now try using your hand to circulate the energy. Jin Ni was puzzled and asked, how do I circulate the energy? She sighed and said, alright, try to imagine and visualize it. Visualize? He asked her. She explained, circulating energy is like drawing a picture in your mind, and in doing so, you can direct the energy into your palm. After saying this, she thought to herself, it sounds easy, but I know he can't apply this method. A person who has never practiced martial arts, how could they do it? Such a pity, but there's nothing I can do. However, contrary to her expectations, a stream of energy moved towards Jin Ni. She was incredibly surprised and exclaimed, huh? Jin Ni punched the wall with all his might, causing it to crumble. She stood aside, utterly baffled. How is this possible? Someone like him, so inexperienced, could do this? As soon as Jin Ni finished his move, he said, this feels amazing. She stood there, stunned. Who is he really? I've met countless naturally talented martial artists, but I've never seen anyone with such extraordinary abilities. Jin Ni stood by the wall and said, I could break through the wall if I wanted to. She thought to herself, where did he come from? With that move, he really has the potential to be something special. Jin Ni spoke with pride. This is why everyone in the world wants to hone their martial arts skills. With martial skills, killing someone is as easy as flipping your hand. Sheng Ling realized something and thought, he has seen the truth. Through the nature of martial arts, people always say that practicing martial arts is about cultivating the mind and spirit. What nonsense. The key to martial arts is simply finding the fastest way to kill your opponent. Jin Ni continued, so, what's the second technique? She was about to respond but then realized she had been too lenient. Shouting, I've been tricked by you. You little brat, how is this helping you? Damn it, she thought, because he always follows my instructions. Keeps asking questions. I've accidentally revealed too much. Now I understand why those old masters are always obsessed with teaching martial arts to their disciples. She turned away, and Jin Ni asked again, Sheng Ling, what's the second technique? She shouted back, don't talk to me. Jin Ni sighed in disappointment, thinking, is that all? How disappointing. I still have so many questions for her. She said the energy will eventually dissipate. And the little bit of cold energy left in my hand. What is it? Should I ask her? Forget it. Even if I ask, I probably won't get an answer. It's more interesting to figure it out myself. Thinking this, he said, Sheng Ling, let's get out of here. The scene shifted to a gloomy, multi-story house. This was Gui Ling Xie. A person wearing a red cloth around their head stood in front of it. This was the bodyguard of Madame Shi. Huo-en. She entered through the open gate. A series of eerie statues appeared before her, along with items that were sealed with talismans. The most striking was a giant human skeleton statue standing in the center. She stood there, thinking, these wooden walls. Why does this room contain such grotesque carvings? She then spoke aloud. I'm sure you all know by now. After the letter and body were brought here, the Fu Shen sect, your master has been killed. It was the third son of the Nian Mu Jian sect. Who killed Mu Jingfen? The 300 taels of silver Madame Shi sent you. If you fulfill her request, will become more than 400 taels. This request is to eliminate the third son. Will you accept this task? She placed the silver under the statue. The candle suddenly went out. She thought to herself, that's it. She bowed and thanked them. Sitting in that room, she thought to herself, damn it, even though there's no one here, I can feel as if hundreds of eyes are watching me. It's so bizarre and terrifying. If it weren't for this mission, I wouldn't have stepped foot in this place. Turning back to the room, the corpse of Zhang lay beneath the statue. Many voices echoed from the statues. As they approached the body, they confirmed that Zhang was the one who killed him. Yes, the little brat used one of his subordinates to hide in the air. It's a vengeful spirit of the Huang Ling level. The third son is the master of that spirit. It's likely that the vengeful spirit is his Shikigami. It's impossible. If it were a demon beast, a good spirit, or a monster, it could be. But never a vengeful spirit would become a Shikigami. But if this is true, isn't this guy extremely dangerous? A voice, seemingly the leader, appeared and concluded, one of you must go and eliminate the third son of the Nian Mu Jian sect, to soothe the soul of Master Mu Shen. They all answered in unison. Understood. At dawn, in Jin Ni's room, Cao Tong yawned, cursing that little brat. I've had to stay up all night, only to get a little rest. And now he's sending me again. He entered Jin Ni's room, dressed in the finished outfit, and said, I brought the brazier. Jin Ni replied, good. Cao Tong thought to himself, look at him. He's clearly tormenting me but still acts so polite. He then asked, but why do you need this brazier? Jin Ni, holding the book in his hand, responded calmly, I need to burn some things. Cao Tong panicked. Burn? Don't tell me you're burning them. Jin Ni replied casually, yes, those secret manuals of the Nian Mu Jian sect. Cao Tong's face turned pale as he shouted, what? Why are you doing this? Jin Ni stood beside the brazier, tossing the fire-starting paper into the flame. Cao Tong screamed, thinking, this crazy bastard. He's really burning those 2 secret manuals. Cao Tong panicked and yelled at him. What are you doing? Jin Ni's face remained extremely calm. He almost cried, unable to speak. Don't, young master. Why are you burning them? You don't know martial arts. But you'll certainly need them. Many people are after that secret manual. We could use it. Jin Ni threw the book at Cao Tong's face and replied, that's exactly why I'm burning them. Cao Tong was still stunned. Confused. What? Jin Ni casually responded, only I can use those 2 manuals. Cao Tong was shocked and asked, only you can use them? Jin Ni pointed to his own head and then smirked. Everything is right here. At this point, Cao Tong still didn't understand. He was so confused that sweat dripped down his forehead. But he still couldn't grasp what his master was saying. Jin Ni slowly explained, your job is to deliver them to Madame Shi and the second young master before dawn. Cao Tong still didn't understand what was going on. And Jin Ni, ever the tease, asked, didn't you just say that many people are after it? He looked at the fire burning brightly and said, I want this mansion to be peaceful and harmonious. So sharing it with everyone, wouldn't that be better? At that moment, a vicious look appeared on Jin Ni's face. Cao Tong looked at him, stunned and shaken. The sun quickly rose, the rays slowly breaking through the clouds. A man was laboring, working while thinking. Every morning, he would wake up, make his bed, change his clothes, then clean around the room, check the to-do list for the day. These habits had formed since his days as an assassin. Everything had to be done according to strict rules and planned meticulously. But soon enough, he wouldn't have to live like that anymore. He leisurely poured himself a cup of hot tea, calmly calculating, if he shifted his focus to the second young master, soon enough, he would have the position of clan leader. Just yesterday, he was a girl. having to do everything on her own. Now, his life was about to turn a new page. As he was lost in thought, one of the guards rushed in to announce, "Captain Cam, the second young master is looking for you." Hearing that name, Captain Cam suddenly had a bad feeling. The scene shifted to En Bing's courtyard. A loud noise shattered the quiet atmosphere. Captain Cam stormed out of the room, filled with fury, his head full of curses. Damn it, this is really damn frustrating. For some reason, Captain Cam's head was covered in blood. Recalling what had just happened, when he arrived, he had heard bad news. Zhu Yi Cheng had disappeared. Captain Cam was stunned. "What do you mean he disappeared?" En Bing replied, "I had sent Zhu Yi Cheng to investigate the third son, to confirm whether he had truly lost his martial arts skills or not. He disappeared, and no one even knows where he is." Gui Ling couldn't hold back his anger. His face darkened as he aggressively questioned Captain Cam. "How dare you lie to me?" Upon hearing this, Captain Cam immediately sensed something suspicious. He quickly explained, "Young master, I haven't lied to you. Not even a word. There's definitely something hidden inside this." But, of course, En Bing didn't give him a chance to explain further. Not even a single word. His ink pen flew at Captain Cam's head. Then, he shouted loudly, "Shut up." En Bing seemed out of control. "Why hasn't Zhu Yi Cheng returned yet? Do you think I'm a fool?" Captain Cam gritted his teeth and endured. "Why is everything such a mess? Damn it, if this continues, my last support will be destroyed. I can't let that happen." He refused to accept it. The effort he had put in so far would not be in vain. He couldn't lose everything like this. Then Captain Cam spoke up. "Please, give me some time. I'll bring Zhu Yi Cheng back to prove I haven't lied to you." En Bing darkened his face. "Do you expect me to trust you?" Captain Cam raised his voice. "I swear on the life of a martial artist. And offer my right arm as a pledge." It seemed like En Bing was the final support for Captain Cam's path to advancement. En Bing seemed shaken by this determination, and he stared at Captain Cam for a long time without speaking. Finally, En Bing relented and gave him a chance to prove himself. "Fine, prove it. I'll give you a chance. If you find Zhu Yi Cheng, I'll trust you. If not, I'll take your life, not just your right arm." Captain Cam clenched his teeth, the blood still dripping from his head. And with respect, he said, "I will obey your orders." Captain Cam angrily walked out of the mansion. Thinking back, ever since that imposter appeared, nothing has gone according to my plans. He was irritated, wiping the blood from his head. If he really has an agenda, I won't let it slide. Fuming, Captain Cam threw his frustration onto the towel. As he wiped the wound, he angrily tossed it aside. From a distance, he saw Cao Tong's figure approaching. His face seemed a bit dazed, perhaps from lack of sleep. Captain Cam angrily shouted, "You!" He grabbed Cao Tong's throat tightly. Suddenly, Cao Tong didn't have time to react. Frightened, Cao Tong shouted, "Senior brother." Captain Cam growled, "I told you not to take your eyes off him. Not even for a second. Don't you take my orders seriously?" Cao Tong stammered, "That's not true." Captain Cam interrogated, "Then why are you standing here now? You've been in cahoots with him, haven't you?" Cao Tong was momentarily terrified, his words stumbling. What are you trying to say?" Suddenly, a book slipped out of Cao Tong's pocket. Captain Cam was suspicious and grabbed it. "What is this?" Cao Tong hurriedly tried to stop him, but didn't know how to respond. "Wait, senior brother, that's..." Captain Cam glared at the object in his hand. Momentarily stunned, he stood there, frozen, looking at the book he had just pulled out, struggling to speak. "Why you?" Finally, the anger in Captain Cam's heart rose to its peak, and he roared, "What have you been doing all this time?" Cao Tong, terrified, looked at Captain Cam, unsure of how to explain himself. What followed was predictable, and Cao Tong was in for a world of trouble. Captain Cam quickly returned to the mansion, the household staff glancing at him with caution as he entered. He was silent, his footsteps hurried, dragging a pair of feet behind him. The clothing seemed familiar. It was Cao Tong, who had been beaten unconscious. Captain Cam was dragging him along the floor, and as soon as he arrived, he kicked the door open with fury. Jin Ni was silently standing there, reading the book. Captain Cam said nothing. He just forcefully threw Cao Tong on the ground. His face was filled with murderous intent. Hearing a loud crash, Jin Ni turned to look. Cao Tong was already unconscious, his face covered in blood. likely from the brutal beating he had received. Jin Ni smiled brightly, calmly looking at Captain Cam. "Welcome, Captain Cam." Seeing Jin Ni's expression, felt his blood boil with even more rage. His eyes seemed capable of killing. He didn't speak much, just fiercely stared at Jin Ni. "Explain yourself." In his mind, Captain Cam cursed. "You bastard." Just looking at Jin Ni's face disgusted him. Faking innocence. Huh? Captain Cam angrily slammed the door shut. "I don't have time for your act." He was worried, his mind troubled by an inexplicable unease. That feeling of fear lingered on. "Damn it, I told you from the start," he muttered. Before he could finish, he fiercely shoved Jin Ni against the wall, his hands tightening around his throat. The voice, filled with hellish fury, echoed, "If you do something stupid, I'll end you." Jin Ni looked at Captain Cam with a defiant expression. "Did you say that? I don't remember." Captain Cam was enraged by his insolent attitude. "You bastard," he shouted. "Where is the bodyguard of the second young master?" Jin Ni remained calm and replied, "Who do you think?" Captain Cam's whole body was trembling with anger. "Stop pretending. There's no way you didn't touch him." Jin Ni, still calm, responded, "I'm not strong enough to touch him." "Am I?" He was momentarily speechless, realizing why he felt this suffocating sense of discomfort. Jin Ni kept his calm demeanor. "Do you think what I said is true?" His face quickly turned sly. "If I'm the third young master who has lost his martial arts, how could I kill him? Didn't you say that the third young master can no longer use martial arts? You said that he can't use martial arts from now on. Martial artists are very hot-tempered, right?" Captain Cam almost lost control. He knew very well that Jin Ni had killed Zhou Yicheng, but in that moment, he couldn't expose him. Captain Cam cursed inwardly. "You bastard." Seeing his expression, Jin Ni laughed loudly. "What will you do now, Captain Cam? You're the one who made me the imposter. And now the imposter, I, have killed the second young master's bodyguard." They exchanged sharp words, and Jin Ni kept challenging Captain Cam's patience, pushing him to the brink of losing his mind. The room quickly became chaotic from the scuffle. Captain Cam, exhausted, collapsed to his knees. Jin Ni knew that at this moment, Captain Cam couldn't kill him. After Captain Cam slowly regained his composure, he slumped, his head hanging down. "It's been 3 years, he continued. "I was born an orphan, and grew up in an assassin's camp. Then I left that place, saved up some money, and finally came to the Nian Mu Jian sect. Over the past 3 years, I've endured and shouldered everything." Captain Cam trembled with sorrow, his body shaking as if he was struggling to hold back tears. "These were 3 years where I sold my life. But you've ruined everything. Not only did you kill the third young master, but now you're eliminating the second young master's subordinates too. That's why I have no choice but to kill you. Otherwise, I won't be safe here. Either I kill you, or I leave this place. There are no other options." Suddenly, Captain Cam's eyes froze, as if he was thinking of something. He wasn't satisfied with this ending and shouted, "But even if Zhou Yicheng is dead, he can't come back to life. But I can offer something else to exchange with the second young master." Captain Cam seemed to have found a lifeline. He brought the book he had taken from Cao Tone and held it up in front of Jin Ni. "I don't know how you got this, but the rest of the manual you're still holding. Is that right?" Captain Cam's face twisted with malice as he thought, "When I have both parts of the secret manual, I won't need to keep your life." Unable to restrain himself, he yelled, "Speak quickly, tell me." Jin Ni responded calmly, "Well, I'm not sure." Captain Cam shouted, "You still haven't answered at this point? If you don't speak up, I'll slit your throat and leave this place. If you hand over both manuals, I'll reconsider. But if you keep your mouth shut and refuse to speak, I'll use extreme torture until you die. Therefore, while I'm still patient, you'd better hand them over." Jin Ni acted as if he had no choice, letting out a long sigh. "All right, I'll give them to you." Captain Cam seemed to believe him. He loosened his grip, thinking, "Even if you remain tight-lipped, once you're close to death's door, there's no other choice." "Good. It's wise of you to say that now. Now, hand it over." Captain Cam seemed eager to get his hands on the valuable item. But Jin Ni remained silent, just looking at him. Jin Ni placed his hand on Captain Cam's hand, causing him to look at Jin Ni with confusion. Captain Cam, irritated, asked, "What are you doing?" Jin Ni calmly responded, "I'm giving you the manual." He smiled deviously at him. "Everything is in my mind." Captain Cam was shocked and confused. Unable to say anything at first, Jin Ni interrupted. Oh, and there's one more thing. Before Captain Cam could finish his sentence, Jin Ni grabbed his hand and squeezed it tightly. The smile never left Jin Ni's face, and he casually said, "Thank you, Captain Cam." Captain Cam looked at him in shock. Feeling his internal energy being drained, Captain Cam was at a loss for how to react. He could only feel his energy slowly fading. Jin Ni laughed loudly. "I didn't expect you to willingly be my test subject. Now, I wonder where to hide your body." Captain Cam, realizing what was happening, panicked and screamed, "You bastard, let me go." He quickly retaliated, lunging toward Jin Ni, blood splattering in the air. But Jin Ni didn't seem concerned at all. Jin Ni's expression remained calm, his cold eyes staring at Captain Cam as though he was already dead. Captain Cam felt the coldness in Jin Ni's gaze, and he panicked, shouting, "You bastard." Captain Cam, frightened, looked at his hand, which was being drained of energy. He quickly kicked Jin Ni away, sending him flying across the room. Jin Ni slowly got up, while Captain Cam, after the encounter, was so frightened that his breathing became erratic. He felt his hand shaking, completely powerless. Captain Cam thought to himself, "I can't feel any energy in my hand anymore. Has he absorbed my energy?" Jin Ni stood up slowly, grinning deviously. "This is my first time experiencing this, but it's still not enough. I have no other choice. I'll have to find another way to eliminate you." At this point, Jin Ni's expression turned eerily sinister and vicious. His eyes fixed on Captain Cam like a predator eyeing its prey. Captain Cam sweated profusely, gritting his teeth. "Did you say you performed some ritual?" Then, Captain Cam nearly roared, "Do you think you can kill me? Do you think you can defeat me?" As soon as he finished speaking, Captain Cam aggressively grabbed the Ji-Shou and rushed toward Jin Ni. It seemed like today, both of them wanted each other's life. Captain Cam shouted angrily, "Die!" Suddenly, Jin Ni's eyes began to glow. He smiled slyly and muttered two words, "Ma Tang." In an instant, Jin Ni blocked Captain Cam's surprise attack. Captain Cam widened his eyes in shock. How could he block it? How is that possible? To resolve his confusion, Captain Cam asked, "You little brat, what kind of technique did you use?" Jin Ni looked at him. "Well, it's something similar. I'll show you what it is." As soon as Jin Ni spoke, Ma Tang began to manifest behind him. The sight of this face made Captain Cam panic. He was so scared that his face turned pale, and his mouth trembled. "What is this?" Jin Ni looked at the trembling Captain Cam and said, "I'll return this to you. This dagger, along with the inner strength you had earlier." He paused, and the smile on his face became even more piercing. "Because they belong to you." With that, the sharp dagger quickly pierced Captain Cam's chest, causing him to stagger. In an instant, Captain Cam's blood spilled onto the ground. He coughed up a few times, struggling for breath. Captain Cam thought to himself, he made a mistake. The position he struck isn't a fatal one. If I pull the dagger out incorrectly, I could bleed out. That bastard. He drained all my inner strength, and then used that power to attack me. Damn it, why did I bring such a dangerous person here? Then, unexpectedly, Captain Cam suddenly shouted, "Hey, you bastard. Did you forget that you've already ingested my poison pill?" He felt a sense of triumph, thinking, that's the secret weapon for situations like this, isn't it? Contrary to Captain Cam's expectations, Jin Ni remained strangely calm. He looked at him arrogantly and asked, "So what? Continue." Captain Cam didn't understand his words and felt even more pleased. "See, that's how it is." Then, he continued, "Let's make a deal." Jin Ni, puzzled, asked, "A deal?" Captain Cam quickly responded, "Yes, if both of us continue fighting like this, we'll both suffer losses. Now, I'll give you an antidote and some money. But your goal, isn't it to get out of here?" He thought to himself, "At this moment, you'll have to lower your head. Your life is more important than killing me, right?" Suddenly, as he spoke, blood involuntarily gushed from his mouth. Captain Cam was startled. Finally, he couldn't hold himself any longer and collapsed to the ground, vomiting a lot of blood. Jin Ni's gaze remained calm as he looked at him, as if he had already predicted this outcome. Captain Cam looked in fear at the blood on his hands. "What is this? I've circulated my energy. Why is my body?" At that moment, the word, poison, appeared in Captain Cam's mind. His breath became quick and labored. Jin Ni casually replied, "So, what's wrong?" The wound isn't deep. Why do you look so pained? Captain Cam now realized. How could you? Did you poison me? Jin Ni walked over to the window and opened it. What are you talking about? You stabbed me with that dagger earlier. So it's covered in my blood. Captain Cam still didn't understand. What nonsense are you talking about? Jin Ni turned to look at him. My blood is also a type of poison. He began explaining slowly. Herbal mushrooms, ginseng, angelica, and tangerine peel. Do you know them? They are all ingredients for crafting poisons. Perhaps because I've consumed so many poisonous plants since I was a child. My blood has slowly accumulated toxins. As Jin Ni said this, he moved closer to Captain Cam. Do you understand what that means? His voice became dark and cold. But you don't need to understand. An antidote, huh? Looking at the young man before him, Captain Cam felt as if he had transformed into someone completely different. A sense of unease settled in Captain Cam's heart. Am I finished? Jin Ni continued. Why are you trembling now? Do you feel cold because I opened the window? I thought your whole body was burning with fever from the poison. So I opened the window to help cool you down. According to the principle, if your body temperature is low, the poison will spread slower. And you might live a little longer. At this moment, Captain Cam finally realized the danger Jin Ni posed. He trembled, raising his hand. Please, please save me. Don't, I beg you. Please, save me. I swear I'll be absolutely loyal to you. I'll be your dog. If you want, I'll lick your feet. I'll crawl on the floor. I'll do anything you want. Just save me. In desperation, Captain Cam grabbed Jin Ni's clothes tightly. His voice was full of despair. Jin Ni looked at him, seemingly pleased. Your attitude is fine now. Isn't this much better? If you keep this attitude, we'll be able to cooperate smoothly in everything. Upon hearing this, Captain Cam thought he had been given the antidote. He smiled through tears of relief. But Jin Ni's sinister smile spread across his face. His expression turned dark. If you had treated me like this from the start. Without warning, Jin Ni swiftly stabbed the dagger into Captain Cam's chest, making him panic. What? Jin Ni never blinked. A schemer like you. Can you even mention the word loyalty? Jin Ni looked at him with disgust, his grip tightening slightly. You'd better just die. Captain Cam's eyes, filled with resentment, stared at Jin Ni, almost as if they were about to explode. Jin Ni quickly pinned him to the ground, seemingly unwilling to let such a cunning person live. Captain Cam trembled, but there was no more strength to resist. It seemed the poison had already spread to his internal organs. It wasn't long before Captain Cam lay completely motionless on the ground, no longer breathing. His life was over. Jin Ni's expression relaxed a bit, and he exhaled tiredly. He stood up, stretching his limbs. He still felt some pain from the fight. The clothes he'd just put on had turned into a ragged mess. Well, I dealt with him sooner than expected. Should I call that luck? Since he knew my identity, he must have been planning to kill me someday. Suddenly, Jin Ni remembered that there was still one person left in the room. He glanced over at Cao Tone, who was still lying motionless on the ground. Jin Ni's eyes turned sinister. Should I kill Cao Tone, the bodyguard, too? After thinking for a moment, he said to himself, no need, he's pretty tight-lipped. I'll spare him for now. Besides, he can still be useful. Jin Ni walked over to Cao Tone and shouted, if you've heard me, wake up now. Cao Tone panicked and sat up quickly. Yes. He looked confused and asked, how did you know I wasn't dead? Jin Ni replied, well, I didn't know, but throughout the fight, you kept inching away little by little, almost as if you were afraid we'd step on you. Cao Tone looked confused and said, so that's what happened? Jin Ni smiled with satisfaction. Well, you're quite tight-lipped. I have to admit, you're starting to please me. Cao Tone scratched his head and said, thank you, my lord. Then Jin Ni gave his orders. Now, go outside, and find a way to make sure everyone stays away from here. I'll handle Captain Cam's body. Cao Tone scrambled to comply. Yes, my lord. Afterward, Jin Ni looked at Captain Cam's bloodied, motionless body on the ground. Time to begin. He placed his hand on Captain Cam's dantian, as Sheng Ling had taught him. A wave of powerful internal energy quickly flowed into his body. Jin Ni thought to himself, this is his internal power. It feels warm, but that's not what I'm trying to confirm. What I felt in the basement of the pharmacy was an extremely cold energy. He concluded, that's death energy. It's the feeling when you kill someone. His hand kept drawing out Captain Cam's internal energy. Little by little, until it seemed to be running dry. Then, suddenly, Jin Ni found what he was looking for. There it is. This is the kind of energy. The cold, terrifying energy. Jin Ni felt the chilling energy accumulating in his dantian. This cold feeling is truly terrifying. He thought, this is the type of energy I always sense when committing massacres. Back when I was Lim Sat Kai. In order to accumulate more of this death energy, I'll have to kill more people. At that moment, Sheng Ling had been watching from afar the whole time. And she felt excited. Look at him, she thought. I understand why you've been affected by him. He's a demon. As Sheng Ling and Ma Tang observed silently, the young boy was eagerly absorbing the internal energy from the corpse in front of him. After the storm, the sky cleared. The outside sky was now crystal clear. A voice broke the silence. Captain Cam had been thinking all this time. I never thought he would be the type of person to betray the young master. Did you mean the first-class bodyguard Duong Bin? En Bing responded. I think so too. However, is it possible he lied the day he was caught? Duong Bin asked again. What do you mean? He sighed deeply. If everything had been dealt with properly from the beginning, things would have gone much more smoothly. That's why, as the young master, I must prove that I am as selective and strict as this. Then, in the future, when the others are more obedient, we will show a forgiving side. At that point, things will settle down. In essence, human nature is very harsh. He continued. Sometimes, you have to treat the others well, to get greater results in return. Duong Bin bowed his head. Indeed, young master, you have great insight. He looked at the sword. Don't say such empty words. Duong Bin asked again. What empty words? He thought for a moment. Captain Cam, with his low loyalty. Honestly, such a test was necessary. Just as the rumors say. The young master has great skill in handling others. In his heart, Duong Bin thought, surely, the successor to the clan leader will be En Bing. At that moment, a person suddenly rushed in. Panicked. Young master, there's big news. En Bing looked irritated. What is it? The newcomer was Han Sin, a second-class bodyguard. He rushed in, frantic. Captain Cam. Captain Cam tried to kill Mu Jingfen. The young master. Duong Bin was startled, unable to believe his ears. He asked in disbelief. What do you mean? En Bing cut him off. If he's trying to prove his innocence, then that's truly a foolish thing to do. Han Sin continued. But that's not the most important part. The third young master has declared that the real culprit, the one who ordered Captain Cam, is no one else but En Bing. En Bing became slightly nervous. What's this nonsense? As he spoke, he grabbed his sword, as if preparing to deal with Jin Ni immediately. Duong Bin quickly stopped him. Wait, young master. If you act against the third young master now, it will only make everyone believe his words are true. En Bing growled in frustration. Are you telling me to just stand here and take it? If that bastard Mu Jingfen sees me defeated, he'll laugh at me. Do you want that? Duong Bin paused for a moment. Then let's focus on a different approach. Upon hearing this, En Bing quickly halted, as it seemed they both understood each other's unspoken meaning. Duong Bin continued. The third young master said Captain Cam wanted to kill him. If that's true, everything becomes easier. As for Captain Cam, they have a strong sense of honor in killings. They even have certain rules. Failure is forbidden in assassin sects. Even for retired assassins. At all costs, they will do everything to complete the mission given to them. Duong Bin added, let my men go there, and speak a few kind words with them. The place Duong Bin referred to was the three great assassins of Central Plains. Phi Sat Man. En Bing was silent for a moment, then recalled Phi Sat Man. He grinned wickedly. Seems like this time, En Bing really intends to act. As night quickly fell, at Jin Ni's mansion, everything was eerily quiet. Jin Ni sat silently in his room, intensely focused. I've been trying to gather energy in my dantian, but I keep failing. Even though I've gotten the energy close to the dantian, it still dissipates. Why is this happening? He spoke aloud. Cao Tone, who stood outside, responded nervously. Yes, my lord, what do you need? Jin Ni asked him. I've been trying to gather energy in my dantian, but it keeps dissipating. Do you know why? Cao Tone hesitated. What are you talking about? You haven't even trained in martial arts yet. But he dared not speak disrespectfully and hesitated. Is that so? Jin Ni placed his hand on his abdomen. After one night, I already feel full of vitality. Could it be because of my luck? Inside, Sao Tone was shouting. What nonsense are you saying? He felt helpless, thinking, if I say that, I'll be beaten to death. Thinking this, he lowered his voice. Have you tried testing it? Jin Ni was confused. Test it? How? Sao Tone continued. Test why the energy you're circulating keeps dissipating. Now, follow me. He was calculating carefully, thinking it was best not to go against him. He's still a child. Isn't it at this age that people think they're talented? Sao Tone then guided Jin Ni to sit down. Don't pay attention to me. Just focus on circulating your energy. Jin Ni quickly closed his eyes. Following Sao Tone's instructions, his breathing soon became more steady. At this moment, circulating energy became much easier for Jin Ni. His entire body felt as though it was receiving a surge of immense power. Sao Tone was utterly surprised by this sight. What is this nonsense? Has he really circulated his energy? His blood is so powerful. The energy is not blocked. If he didn't have a martial arts master with profound skills, and didn't practice internal power every day, how could this be possible? Sao Tone was horrified, silently evaluating. This kid is truly a prodigy. An exceptional talent. Suddenly, a strange feeling overwhelmed him. What was this? He felt something strange, something cold and eerie. A force erupted, leaving him stunned and confused. Jin Ni was disappointed. Sure enough, it all dissipated. Sao Tone asked in surprise. Young master, can you feel it? Jin Ni replied with a serious face. Tell me the truth. I really can't form energy in my dantian. Can I? Sao Tone hesitated. Well, that's true. Sao Tone explained. I can feel some strange energy near your dantian, but I can't tell what it is. Jin Ni felt discouraged. Then could that be the cause? What should I do? Should I just give up on cultivating martial arts? Sao Tone was perplexed. That's strange. It's dissipating all the internal energy. With energy like that, it shouldn't be normal. What kind of energy is that? He commented. It feels like it's the opposite. Jin Ni, hearing this, was confused. Opposite? Sao Tone panicked. I must have said something wrong. But quickly added. It's just my guess. You don't need to worry about it. But Jin Ni couldn't stop thinking. Opposite energy? He kept asking questions and answering himself. Thinking about it, internal energy is warm, while death energy is cold. Right? He cut Sao Tone off. No, I think you're right. He frowned, speaking seriously. I need to circulate opposite energy. Sao Tone was shocked. Wait, no. He quickly shouted, trying to stop him. Young master, don't. You'll be overwhelmed by it. Sheng Ling's cold voice interrupted. Do you want me to make you quiet? She thought angrily. Those foolish mortals. You'll lose your life from ignorance if you recklessly pursue this. If the familiar spirit kills the contractor, the contract will end, and I will be free. Sheng Ling was thrilled. I didn't expect to be free earlier than planned. She thought to herself. When you die, your soul will vanish, and my hands will tear you apart.